Chapter 568. Su Qingsang's car was parked outside the villa. She looked inside. During the day, the reflective glass made it impossible to see if there was anyone inside. She couldn't help but take out her phone and call Xiang Kaiping. 3 minutes later, Xiang Kaiping came out and opened the door for her. Su Qingsang stood at the door and handed the fruit and some supplements she had bought before she came to Xiang Kaiping. "Auntie, this is good for your waist. And this. Our hospital's new waist physical therapy device. I've asked a few patients and they say it's quite useful." Su Qingsang explained. Xiang Kaiping took it and nodded. She thanked Su Qingsang in a very low voice and let Su Qingsang into the house. The villa was very clean and cozy. It was very Xiang Kaiping style. Su Qingsang sat down and didn't worry too much. Xiang Kaiping said that Su Peijian would have gone to work at this time. She wouldn't come back until night. In fact, even if it was night, she might not come back, but Xiang Kaiping wouldn't tell Su Qingsang this. She got up and went to the kitchen to cut some fruit and poured a glass of juice. Su Qingsang looked at the glass of orange juice. Xiang Kaiping actually remembered. She felt a little sour at the tip of her nose. She just lowered her head to hide the emotion. "Auntie, you don't have to be so polite. Why don't you hire a nanny to help you do these things?" "I hired a nanny. She went out to buy groceries. I'm not too old to move. I'll do it myself if I can." Su Qingsang had always known that she couldn't stay idle, so she didn't talk about that topic. Instead, she took out the waist physical therapy device and taught her how to use it. It's very simple. The device wasn't cheap. There weren't many people in the hospital who could afford it. Su Qingsang hadn't used it herself. She only found out after asking her colleagues. This time, she explained it very clearly. Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Qingsang's side profile and felt a little sad. "You don't look very well. Have you been too tired recently?" In the end, he still said those words of concern. Su Qingsang had already explained the function of the physical therapy device and was packing up. She stopped because of Xiang Kaiping's words. "No, I'm not tired. Previously, the matter of wanting a child was a little too much. Indeed, he hadn't slept well. He had been catching up on his sleep for the past 2 days. Otherwise, the dark circles under her eyes would have been worse a few days ago. Hu Jinyao also knew that, so he didn't touch her these days. He only hugged her to sleep so that she could rest well. I know you and Hu Jinyao are still young, but your body is your own. You should take care of yourself and not indulge yourself too much." Xiang Kaiping had lived with Su Qingsang, so she knew what had happened between Su Qingsang and Hu Jinyao. After saying that, he felt that he had said too much. These things were no longer something that she could manage. Su Qingsang was stunned and blushed. But at the same time, he felt the warmth of being cared for by his mother. "Auntie, you too." Su Qingsang gently held her hand. "No matter what, you have to take care of yourself. Remember to take these tonics. Also, make sure to use this physical therapy equipment." Xiang Kaiping looked at her hand and nodded gently. Su Qingsang didn't stay for dinner. She had hesitated for a while before deciding to visit Xiang Kaiping today. Before she left, the woman who helped Xiang Kaiping came back. Su Qingsang breathed a sigh of relief. It was good that someone was taking care of her. When she was about to leave, Su Qingsang couldn't help but say that to Xiang Kaiping. "Auntie, if there's nothing else, call me. I'll come to see you then." Su Qingsang and Xiang Kaiping both knew that the so-called nothing else referred to when Su Peijian was not at home. Xiang Kaiping looked at her and nodded vigorously. After that, Su Qingsang chose to visit Xiang Kaiping a few times when Su Peijian was not at home. She didn't know if it was because of the tonics she bought or because she visited Xiang Kaiping. She could feel that Xiang Kaiping's complexion was much better. She was also using the physical therapy equipment. It was said that her back pain had been greatly relieved. There weren't many things that Su Qingsang could do, but these few things made her feel calm. She didn't tell anyone about visiting Xiang Kaiping, except for the first time to Hu Jinyao. Especially Li Qianxue. Li Qianxue didn't know that she would visit Xiang Kaiping. She and Li Qianxue had video calls almost every day, and they talked about many things. However, There were two things that the mother and daughter had a tacit understanding not to mention. One was Su Peijian, and the other was Su Qinghui. Su Qingsang just wanted to be nice to Xiang Kaiping and make her feel better. Xiang Kaiping also knew that, so she had a tacit understanding not to mention Su Peijian or anyone else in the Su family in front of her when she visited. This was the tacit understanding between her and Xiang Kaiping. Every time Xiang Kaiping called her, it was after Su Peijian had gone out, so Su Peijian never knew that Su Qingsang had been there. The weather was getting hotter, and it was already early summer in Rong City. Su Peijian returned home that day and found that Xiang Kaiping was not in the living room. This was really a bit surprising. Usually, at this time, she would be downstairs waiting for her to eat. Even if she knew that she would not come back, she would still wait there. Su Peijian was not used to not seeing her today. After thinking about it, she went upstairs to Xiang Caiping's room to see what she was doing. Before she reached the door, she heard Xiang Kaiping talking to Ms. Zhao, the housekeeper hired by the family. She was going to go straight in, but she suddenly stopped. "Sister Xiang, that Miss Su, will she come to see you in a few days? She just came a few days ago, and should be here in 2 days. What's the matter? I tried this physical therapy device of yours, and it really works. I want Miss Su to bring me one. I can give her money." When Ms. Zhao was young, she did not have good confinement, so she also had a problem with her back from time to time. The last time she came, she had a back pain again, so Xiang Kaiping asked her to try it. Today, Ms. Zhao accidentally stretched her back when she was moving things, so Xiang Kaiping asked her to try the physical therapy device again. "Why don't I call her and ask her to bring one over for you first? You can use it at home. Thank you in advance, Sister Xiang." Ms. Zhao's voice was filled with gratitude. "To be honest, Miss Su is really a good person. Is she your sister's daughter?" Xiang Kaiping was silent. She could not answer this question. Since she did not want to say, Ms. Zhao did not ask. "I heard that she is a doctor? She is so young, but she is really capable." "Yes. She is an obstetrician." In fact, Su Qingsang was very busy in the hospital. She had to go back to the Hua family to spend the weekends with old Master Hua. She had to build a relationship with Hua Jinyao. She could still find time to visit him. Speaking of which, it was really thoughtful of her. She is so capable. He was young and capable. She is also a good person. Look at the tonics on your table. They were all bought by Miss Su, right? Yes. Xiang Kaiping nodded. The table was full of tonics suitable for middle-aged and elderly people. They were all bought by Su Qingsang. She did not buy them randomly. She was a doctor, so she bought them after careful selection. Apart from anything else, Xiang Caiping's sleep during this period of time was indeed much better. "Miss Su is so nice. You can take her as your goddaughter next time." Ms. Zhao was in physical therapy, so she tried to find something to say. "It's a pity that you don't have a son. Otherwise, you could marry her." "She is married," Xiang Kaiping said lightly. "Married at such a young age? I can't tell. Her husband is so lucky." "Yes. Of course he was lucky to have a wife like her. He must be lucky to have a daughter like her." Su Peijian stood at the door with a sullen expression. She clenched the phone in her hand, her expression extremely gloomy. Without alerting the people inside, Su Peijian left quietly and returned to her room. She sat down on the bed in the room, still holding her phone in her hand. She had been very busy recently. 2 or 3 supermarkets were not enough for her ambition. She wanted more. She needed more, which meant that she needed more resources now. And Hui Yifan was her best resource now. After all, she had been carefully trained by Li Qianxue and Su Qinghui. Naturally, she had her own sharp side when it came to business. It was true that Hui Yifan and she worked together and used each other. But when they had a common goal, they would certainly work together. Hui Yifan was determined to prove himself. Under her instigation, under her encouragement, he secretly opened a company. The company was under her and Hui Yifan's name. It was now in the beginning stage. They needed orders. Su Peijian had just handed over the plan, but Hui Yifan was bold enough to take out an order from Tianyu Group. This was the first order of their new company. Su Peijian attached great importance to it, and so did Hui Yifeng. The two of them had been extremely busy recently, so Su Peijian had neglected Xiang Kaiping. Not to mention coming back for dinner. Sometimes she didn't even come back to sleep. Today, it was because Hui Yifeng went to confirm the final details with the other party that she remembered to come back to see Xiang Kaiping. Unexpectedly, Xiang Kaiping didn't need her to see her at all. Someone was already rushing to be a filial daughter. Su Qingsang, I haven't thought about how to deal with you for your previous troubles. But you came to provoke me first. What? Not only did you snatch away the mother who raised me, but now you're not even letting go of the mother who gave birth to me? Su Peijian felt that she really couldn't take this lying down. Her disgust and hatred for Su Qingsang doubled at this moment. She stood up and paced back and forth in the room. She suddenly took out her phone and flipped through the photos of Su Qingsang and the wild man. In fact, she had seen the photos of the man and Su Qingsang hugging each other a few times over the past few days. It was just a faked photo. If there was anything, it was not solid evidence. If she wanted solid evidence, she was afraid that she would need more evidence. Su Peijian flipped through the photos again and still felt that they were not suitable for direct use. After thinking about it, she sent the single photo of Zhang Yichen to Hui Yifeng. Chapter 569. Su Peijian didn't expect things to become so interesting. The man named Zhang Yichen was Hui Yifeng's uncle? That would be fun. Su Peijian flipped through the photos again. She didn't have a plan at first, but now she was starting to have a different idea. Hu Jinyao couldn't really suspect Su Qingsang with just a few photos that were out of place. After all, Hu Jinyao was not stupid. He could see what she could see. She could also edit the photos and use high-end Photoshop software to make the two of them look like they were together. However, that kind of method was too low-end and she would not do it. So, how could he make these two people really have a relationship? Xiang Kaiping looked at Su Peijian. It was rare that Su Peijian had been eating at home these past 2 days. She wanted to call Su Qingsang and ask her to send a physical therapy device to Ms. Zhao. Su Peijian, on the other hand, had been staying at home for the past few days. Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you looking at me like that? Su Peijian gracefully drank the soup in front of her. Ms. Zhao's cooking skills were pretty good. Why are you free today? Not only am I free today, haven't I been staying at home with you these days? Su Peijian raised her eyebrows and looked confused. Mom, you don't like me staying at home with you? Yes. He just felt that it was a little abnormal and strange. Xiang Kaiping couldn't help but take another look at Su Peijian. She seemed to be in a good mood. As long as you like it, Mom. As Su Peijian spoke, she picked up some food for Xiang Kaiping. Try this. Xiang Kaiping looked at the piece of fish in her bowl, then at Su Peijian. She was confused by Su Peijian's overjoyed attitude. His lips moved, wanting to say something, but in the end, he swallowed it back. Alright. I have a boyfriend. Boyfriend? Xiang Kaiping looked up at her. Where are you from? What does he do? How old are you? Xiang Kaiping couldn't help but feel nervous. When she met Su Qingsang, she was already married. She couldn't care less even if she wanted to. But Su Peijian, on top of her concern, was also worried. Look at you. I'm talking about a boyfriend now, not marriage. When our relationship is more stable, I'll bring him to see you. Xiang Kaiping knew that Su Peijian always had her own ideas. Naturally, there was no need to say anything else. However, he was still worried. You just arrived in Rong City, so you don't know much about the people here. It's better to be cautious in everything. Mom, don't worry. I promise you'll be satisfied. Be it family background or anything else, there's nothing to pick on. The more she said that, the more worried Xiang Kaiping became. When it came to Su Peijian, she realized that she couldn't be too gentle or too heavy. She didn't know what to do. Hu Jinyao looked at the report in front of him and raised his head to look at Yang Wenchang's face. There was still a trace of uncertainty in his eyes. Is he crazy? Yang Wenchang couldn't answer Hu Jinyao's question. If Hu Jinyao hadn't asked him to keep an eye on Su Peijian, he wouldn't have found out. Hu Jinyao didn't know what expression to put on at this moment. Lu Tongjia had tried her best to hand over Tianyu Group to Hui Yifan, but he ran off to start a company at this time. Hu Jinyao and the others all had their own companies. Some were for fun, and some were given to them by their elders to train their abilities. Hu Jinyao had a few other companies. The scale of his companies couldn't be compared to Tianyu Group. The projects he ran were also completely different from Tianyu Group. The others were in the same situation. No one was like Hui Yifan, who wanted to snatch the orders from Tianyu Group. Hu Mingguang and Old Master Hu wouldn't allow such a thing to happen, let alone Hu Jinyao. They didn't stop the younger generation from developing their own businesses, and they also encouraged them to have their own ideas and insights. However, the premise was that they couldn't harm the interests of their families or Tianyu Group. President Hua, what do you think we should do? What should he do? Hu Jinyao narrowed his eyes and stared at the document in his hand. He suddenly looked up at Yang Wenchang with an obvious calculating look in his eyes. Don't do anything for the time being. Hu Jinyao thought for a moment and added, no. It's not that we don't do anything. There's still something we can do. Yang Wenchang looked at Hu Jinyao. At this moment, Hu Jinyao's eyes were full of calculation. After listening to Hu Jinyao's instructions, his eyes lit up. President Hua, that's a good idea. But when the time comes, I'm afraid that Vice President Hui Yifan will go crazy, right? Then let him go crazy. Hu Jinyao wouldn't sympathize with Hui Yifan. He understood that he wanted to make money and gain benefits, but there were some things that couldn't be crossed. And now, he was waiting to see Hui Yifan fail. Hu Jinyao was waiting for Hui Yifan to turn the tables, and Su Peijian was also waiting for an opportunity. After being with Hui Yifan, she gradually figured out the relationship between the people in the Hua family. Su Peijian, who was born in the Su family and had been carefully trained by Li Qianxue, was much more sensitive than Su Qingsang in this regard. She used the shortest time possible to figure out the relationship between Hui Yangxiu and Hui Yangyuan's families. She also found out a very interesting thing, which was that Hu Jinyao had a good relationship with his good uncle. She just didn't know what kind of expression Hu Jinyao would have when he found out that his good uncle actually coveted his wife and even slept with his wife. Su Peijian didn't expect the opportunity to come so soon. What did you say? Su Peijian looked at Hui Yifan. The two of them had just gone crazy. She was very sticky and was about to take a shower when she heard Hui Yifan's words. I said, Old Master wants you to go to the Hua family for the Dragon Boat Festival. Hui Yifan poured a glass of red wine from the bedside table and took a sip. He looked at Su Peijian with a hint of playfulness in his eyes. But, you don't want to go? Don't think that he didn't know how much Su Peijian wanted this opportunity. Of course I'll go. Su Peijian propped up her body and turned to lie on his chest. There should be a lot of relatives coming to your family for the Dragon Boat Festival, right? My great-aunt and great-uncle's family will all come this time. Su Qingsang hadn't been in Rong City during the Lunar New Year. After she came, it was rare for them to get together. This time, Hui Yangxiu's husband, Zhang Xinghua, happened to be on vacation. He agreed to come and see his grandnephew's wife. Your great-aunt's family? Doesn't that mean your uncle will come too? Yes. Hui Yifan put the wine glass in his hand aside and looked at Su Peijian. I find that you seem to care a lot about my uncle. Why? Are you jealous? Su Peijian looked at Hui Yifan, and the smile on her face grew brighter. A little. I care about him because I've never had a soldier in my life before. Also, I find that your grandfather seems to like him very much. It had been more than a month since she found out about Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen. She had done a lot of homework. Old Master Hua seemed to like this nephew very much, and Zhang Yichen respected Old Master Hua very much. As long as he was in Rong City, he would come to visit Old Master Hua. My uncle is young and promising. My grandfather likes him very much. Hui Yifan suddenly turned over and pressed Su Peijian under his body. Woman, I don't like it when you talk about other men in front of me. I'm not talking about other men. Su Peijian looked at Hui Yifan with a meaningful smile. I'm trying to please your grandfather for you. Really? Then I'll thank you in advance. Hu Jinyao liked her cleverness. He lowered his head and began to plunder again. It was the family dinner for the Dragon Boat Festival. Su Peijian and Hua Jinyao arrived early. However, some people arrived even earlier than them. Hua Yangyuan came with his eldest son and daughter-in-law. His youngest son was here, and his daughter-in-law was on a business trip. However, a few of his grandchildren also came along this time. His children were a few years younger than Hua Jinyao's. They were sitting in a circle together. Hua Yangxiu came with her son and daughter. Her eldest son, Zhang Liangze, and her eldest daughter, Zhang Hanlei. She didn't see Zhang Yichen. It was said that he had a mission yesterday and would be late. However, Zhang Hanlei's and Zhang Liangze's children were both here. The two families sat together, and the living room was very lively. Other than them, Hua Mingmei's and Hua Mingliang's families were also here. Su Qingsang walked in and greeted the elders one by one. When she glanced at Hu Yang, she realized that one person seemed to be missing. Hu Yifan wasn't here yet. He didn't keep her waiting for long. Soon, Hu Yifan arrived with Su Peijian. Su Peijian gracefully greeted the elders. Before coming, Hua Yangyuan and his sister had heard that Su Peijian was coming, so they had prepared gifts for her. Su Peijian hadn't looked at Su Qingsang since she came in. Zhang Hanlei, on the other hand, seemed to have realized something and exclaimed, "What a coincidence! Both Jinyao's wife and Yifan's girlfriend have the surname Su? Not only that, but they're sisters." Hua Mingmei explained. Zhang Hanlei was a little surprised. However, there were many elders here today, so Hua Mingmei didn't make it too clear. She only said that they were sisters. She didn't mention anything about an illegitimate daughter. However, everyone present was smart. Last time when the Su family came, they didn't see Su Peijian. They were afraid that there was something fishy going on. For a moment, everyone's eyes fell on Su Peijian, as if they wanted to understand something. Su Peijian felt everyone's gazes, but she calmly walked to Su Qingsang's side and sat down next to her. Hua Jinyao was talking to old Master Hua. Seeing Su Peijian's action, he almost got up and walked to Su Qingsang. At that moment, Hua Yifan sat next to him. "Brother, let Peijian catch up with her sister. We can talk about the company." Hua Jinyao saw Hua Yifan's expression and then looked in Su Qingsang's direction. At that moment, she gave him a look. Hua Jinyao was relieved. Su Qingsang wasn't someone who would let herself be taken advantage of. "Yeah, we're sisters. You can't tell, can you? Because I look like my grandmother, but my sister looks like my father." Su Qingsang looked at Su Peijian's hand on her arm and didn't pull it away. Instead, she glanced at Su Peijian. "My sister and I, because we don't look alike, growing up, people always said that we were cousins, not real sisters." Su Peijian hooked Su Qingsang's hand and smiled brightly. "Actually, these people don't know that we're real sisters." "Sister, don't you think so?" "Yes." There were so many people here, including the relatives of the Hua family. Su Qingsang wouldn't have a conflict with Su Peijian. She grunted in response and tried to pull her hand out. However, Su Peijian held it so tightly that she couldn't break free. "Speaking of which, we've been close since we were young. My sister married my brother-in-law, and I couldn't bear to let her go. I didn't want to be separated from her at all. So, she came to Rong City and I followed." As she spoke, Su Peijian looked at Hua Yifan, her eyes full of gentleness. "I didn't expect my luck to be so good. I met Yifan. I didn't expect him and my brother-in-law to be brothers. It's all right now. We two sisters married two brothers. Speaking of which, it's really a good story. Sister, don't you think so?" Su Qingsang looked at Su Peijian's acting as if it was real, then looked at her arm that was hooked around her and nodded. "It's really a good story." When she said the word, good, she deliberately raised her voice a little. It sounded very much like the dialect of Lin City. In the dialect of Lin City, the pronunciation of good and fake were the same. Others couldn't tell, but Su Peijian definitely knew what she was talking about. Of course, Su Peijian understood, but she was sure that Su Qingsang wouldn't expose her. The smile on her face became brighter and brighter. "Sister, when I think about marrying into the same family as you, I'm really happy." "Yes, I'm very happy too," Su Qingsang said lightly with a decent smile on her face, but her hand subtly pulled Su Peijian's hand away. Su Peijian didn't let her pull her hand away. Instead, she moved her face closer to Su Qingsang and said in a very soft voice, "Su Qingsang, seeing me appear in front of you like this, and you can't get rid of me, does it make you feel very uncomfortable?" Only they could hear her words. She still had a smile on her face. People who didn't know better would think that the two sisters were talking happily. Su Qingsang looked at the pride on her face, and the smile on her face was even more friendly than she looked. "It's not uncomfortable. I'm actually quite happy." Su Qingsang mimicked her and spoke with a smile. "Do you know why I'm very happy? After all, seeing the once high and mighty young lady of the Su family try so hard to make trouble for me. This matter in itself makes me very happy. What goes around comes around. Didn't you dislike me? Didn't you disdain to care about me? Then why did you appear like this now?" Su Peijian almost couldn't hold the smile on her face. The two sisters were very close, and only Su Qingsang saw the flash of resentment in Su Peijian's eyes. Her expression didn't change, and she successfully pulled her hand out and placed it on Su Peijian's shoulder. It looked like the two sisters were whispering to each other. "Su Qingsang, don't be too proud. Life is full of ups and downs. You can't always be proud." Su Peijian couldn't hold the smile on her face. "I know that life is full of ups and downs, but no matter what, there is one thing that can't be changed." "What?" "That is, you can never be the young lady of the Su family again. Li Qinshua's daughter is me." It wasn't that Su Qingsang didn't know how to hurt people, but she didn't care. And the premise of her disdain was that Su Peijian didn't provoke her. Su Peijian's face was ugly, and her body stiffened. She almost stood up, but Su Qingsang pressed her shoulder at the right time. The smile on her face became softer and softer. "Sister, you should pay attention to your image. This is the Hua family, and you haven't officially married Hui Yifan yet." In other words, there were still variables in this matter. Hui Yifan might just be playing with her, and it was still uncertain whether she could marry into the Hua family in the end. But she was different. She was now the legitimate young lady of the Hua family. Su Peijian never knew that Su Qingsang had such a sharp tongue. The smile on her face became very awkward. If it weren't for the last bit of reason reminding her that she couldn't lose her temper in this situation. She couldn't be angry. If she really got angry or lost her temper, it would be exactly what Su Qingsang wanted. "Thank you for reminding me, sister. Don't worry, we will definitely become sisters-in-law." Su Qingsang nodded and patted Su Peijian's shoulder. "I'm looking forward to it." They faced each other and looked at each other. How could Su Peijian not understand the meaning in Su Qingsang's eyes? Looking forward to what? Looking forward to her not marrying. Su Peijian couldn't go on. She felt that she wouldn't be able to control herself and wanted to slap Su Qingsang. She forced herself to calm down, then looked at Su Qingsang and gave her a meaningful look. Then she got up and sat down next to Hui Yifan. Hui Yifan could tell that something was wrong with Su Peijian's eyes. He raised his eyebrows silently. Old Master Hui didn't miss their little tricks. Hui Yifan saw it too and was very sure of it. Su Qingsang didn't suffer any losses. No wonder she was his wife. Su Peijian's smile was a little stiff. However, it was only for a moment. "It's nothing. Sister asked me when the wedding is going to be held. Whenever you want." I said, "This matter still depends on Grandpa." Su Peijian glanced at Hui Yifan, then at Old Master Hua. "If Grandpa doesn't object to me marrying into the Hua family, of course, I can do it any time." "Not at all." Old Master Hua smiled. During this period of time, he felt that Su Peijian was a good person, knowledgeable and insightful. Most importantly, she and Hui Yifan hit it off. Hua Jinyao was his grandson, but so was Hui Yifan. He was impartial and hoped that both of his grandsons would be happy. While they were discussing the wedding, Hui Yangxiu heard it and wanted to ask when the wedding would be held. Someone else came from the other end. Zhang Yichen. He was on a mission yesterday. After finishing his mission this morning, he rushed to Rong City as soon as possible. When he saw Old Master Hua, he greeted him first and then walked to Hua Yangxiu. Both of Hua Yangxiu's children were in the army. She cared about both of them. However, she loved her youngest son very much. "Look at you. You seem to have lost weight again. No matter how many missions you are on, you have to pay attention to your meals. You always eat irregular meals. Your stomach will be bad in the future. Zhang Yichen didn't say anything. He was used to this kind of nagging every time they met. After greeting the other elders, it was the turn of the younger generation. When he greeted Su Qingsang, his eyes lingered on her face for a second. Not much, just a second. No one noticed that second, except for Su Peizhen. She had been staring at Zhang Yichen since he entered the door. She understood him. She understood every expression on his face and every look in his eyes. It was an extremely restrained and tolerant emotion. She even wanted to applaud this man. He was really tolerant. It was already shocking that he fell in love with his niece-in-law. She didn't expect him to be so restrained and tolerant. Except for that 1 second, he didn't look at Su Qingsang again. If Su Peizhen hadn't been paying attention to him, if she hadn't known what he was thinking, she probably wouldn't have noticed it. What are you looking at? Hui Yifan noticed her line of sight and followed her line of sight. Zhang Yichen had already walked to his father and sat down. He was in the same army as Zhang Xinghua, but they didn't see each other often. Because they were in different military regions, they could only see each other when they went home. However, both of them had their own things to do. Sometimes, they didn't even see each other once a month. Nothing. Su Peizhen shook her head. Seeing Zhang Yichen, her heart, which had been hurt by Su Qingsang, finally calmed down a little. She looked at Zhang Yichen and then at Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang didn't notice. She didn't know what Zhang Yichen was thinking. She was glad that she didn't send the photo to Hu Jinyao. There were a lot of people, so the living room couldn't be quiet. The sound of people talking and talking to each other perfectly covered Zhang Yichen's thoughts. More importantly, he wouldn't allow his emotions to leak out in the slightest on such an occasion. Even so, Su Peizhen, who had been paying attention to him, noticed the way Zhang Yichen looked at Su Qingsang. At that time, Su Qingsang seemed to be going to the bathroom. Zhang Yichen glanced at her. Although he quickly looked away, Su Peizhen felt that it was getting more and more interesting. If a person kept suppressing his feelings, what would happen in the end? She was looking forward to it. Lu Tongjia noticed Zhang Yichen's gaze as well. She couldn't help but look at Su Qingsang. She found that Su Qingsang still had some dignity. She didn't openly flirt with Zhang Yichen, which made Lu Tongjia feel relieved. If the two of them were really that shameless, she wouldn't be able to tolerate it for even a minute. There were a lot of guests at the moment, so she didn't have time to argue with Su Qingsang. She could only slowly warn Su Qingsang about her image in the future. Almost all the important relatives had arrived today. Lu Tongjia didn't choose to have lunch at the Hua Mansion. Instead, she chose to have lunch at the hotel where Old Master Li and the others had gone to. Chapter 570. Zhang Yichen's car was parked outside. He was about to walk to his car. Hua Jinyao's car happened to be heading out. He saw Zhang Yichen and greeted him. "Uncle, it's not far." "It's not far anyway. Let's take my car. I need to talk to you about something." Zhang Yichen stood there without moving. Zhang Xinghua and the others had already gotten into their respective cars. He paused for a second and finally got into Hua Jinyao's car. Lu Tongjia had already gotten into Hua Mingguang's car and left. Behind them was Hui Yifan's car. Sitting in Hui Yifan's car, Su Peizhen watched Zhang Yichen get into Hua Jinyao's car from afar. The smile on her face grew brighter. Hua Jinyao, you think you're smart and powerful, but you can't even tell that someone is coveting your wife? You're such an idiot. Forget it. I'll be nice and give you a reminder in case you continue being stupid. Su Qingsang sat in the front seat. Zhang Yichen naturally got into the car from behind. "How many days off do you have this time, uncle?" 3 days. His reply was concise and to the point, without a single extra word. Su Qingsang glanced at the rearview mirror. Somehow, she felt that Zhang Yichen was in a bad mood. She didn't want to explore Zhang Yichen's mind, so she turned around. She saw a mobile stall selling roasted sweet potatoes. Her eyes lit up immediately, but she quickly remembered that they were going to eat now. If she ate a roasted sweet potato, she wouldn't be able to eat later. There was a traffic light in front of them. Hua Jinyao stopped the car and saw Su Qingsang looking at the sweet potato stall at the intersection. Don't tell me you want to eat sweet potatoes again. Can't I? Su Qingsang glanced at him. They're delicious. We'll have dinner soon. If you eat a sweet potato now, how are you going to eat later? I know. I'm just looking. He said he was just looking, but the look in her eyes didn't mean that at all. Hua Jinyao felt helpless. He stopped the car at the intersection in front of them when the traffic light turned green. He got out of the car and quickly bought a sweet potato from the stall under Su Qingsang's smiling eyes. He got in the car and put it in Su Qingsang's hand. Su Qingsang took the roasted sweet potato and smiled like a contented kitten. Thank you. Don't thank me. If you don't eat later, I won't let you touch this thing again. Hua Jinyao sounded like he was lecturing a child. Su Qingsang stuck her tongue out and made a face at Hua Jinyao. I'll eat half, and you can take care of the rest. Then I'll be able to eat. Hua Jinyao didn't want to talk to her anymore. He turned around and went to get the car. I can't? That would be such a waste. Hua Jinyao reached out his hand and rubbed Su Qingsang's cheek. All right, hurry up and eat. Leave the rest to me, okay? Jinyao, you're so nice. Su Qingsang leaned over and kissed him on the cheek. After the kiss, she realized that Zhang Yichen was still sitting in the back of the car. She blushed. He hurriedly backed away, his face full of discomfort. Hua Jinyao noticed it too, but he didn't take it to heart. To him, no matter how old Zhang Yichen was, he was still his elder. Looking at Su Qingsang, he felt a little helpless. You don't have to go that far, do you? You're so satisfied with a roasted sweet potato. Su Qingsang's reaction was to give him a look that said, you don't understand. This kind of pure happiness was something he would never understand. Out of politeness, Su Qingsang asked Zhang Yichen if he wanted some sweet potato. Zhang Yichen looked at her and shook his head expressionlessly. Su Qingsang felt so stupid. Did she think everyone was like her? Satisfied with a sweet potato? The sweet taste of the sweet potato made her forget her embarrassment. She only ate a small part of it, then stopped eating. Before getting out of the car, she held up the remaining half of the sweet potato and looked at Hua Jinyao. Jinyao. Hua Jinyao looked at her. Without reaching out his hand, he finished the sweet potato in a few bites. On the other side, Zhang Yichen got out of the car without saying anything to them. The car door slammed loudly. Su Qingsang's hand, which was holding the sweet potato, trembled. Seeing that Hua Jinyao was heading to the hotel, she couldn't help but look at him. Is Uncle angry? How can that be? Uncle doesn't get angry so easily. Hua Jinyao also saw Zhang Yichen's back. That strange feeling from before came again. In fact, he asked Zhang Yichen to get in his car today to test him. Zhang Yichen wasn't an emotional person, but thinking about it, it seemed that every time Su Qingsang was around, his emotions would be very abnormal. Hua Jinyao was suspicious. His eyes fell on Su Qingsang's face. She didn't seem to take Zhang Yichen's behavior to heart. He was more or less relieved. However, he couldn't help but want to test Zhang Yichen. There were a lot of people eating together. One table couldn't fit all of them. 2 big tables were filled with people. The elders sat at one table, and the rest of the younger generations sat at the other. For some reason, when Su Qingsang and Hua Jinyao sat together, Zhang Yichen sat next to Hua Jinyao. Zhang Yichen and Hua Jinyao were good friends. When they sat together, no one would think too much. Sitting next to Su Qingsang was Su Peizhen and Hua Yifeng. Su Peizhen had deliberately sat down a little later just to sit with Su Qingsang. Hua Jinyao had to drive later, so he didn't drink. Su Qingsang didn't like drinking, so she politely declined. However, Su Peizhen didn't want to let it go. She raised her glass and looked at Zhang Yichen. This is the first time I've met you, uncle. Let me propose a toast to you. Su Peizhen raised her glass and proposed a toast to Zhang Yichen. In the past, Zhang Yichen wouldn't drink. But today, for some reason, he drank it. Su Peizhen smiled. After drinking half of the wine in her glass, she glanced at Hua Yifeng. Aren't you going to propose a toast to your uncle? Hua Yifeng glanced at her. He didn't understand what she meant. Although Zhang Yichen wasn't as close to them as he was to Hua Jinyao, they had a good relationship. Uncle, Let me propose a toast to you. With these two people taking the lead, Hua Manzi, Hua Yang, Hua Qinghan, and Hua Qingwan all came to propose a toast to Zhang Yichen. However, if Wei Sihai and Wei Siming's cousins came to propose a toast to Zhang Yichen, seriously speaking, this generation of people had a lot of opportunities to meet each other. However, Zhang Yichen showed up the least often. Every Chinese New Year, he was either on a mission or in the army. It was extremely rare for him to be able to attend a gathering with his entire family. Zhang Yichen used to have a lot of self-control. Today, maybe it was because of the Chinese New Year, or because he hadn't gotten together with this group of people for a long time. As soon as someone proposed a toast to him, he drank all the wine. Su Qingsang and Hua Jinyao had been lovey-dovey. Now, seeing the scene in front of her, she began to feel that something was wrong. She glanced at Hua Jinyao and signaled him to stop Zhang Yichen from drinking. After all, this group of people was one generation younger than Zhang Yichen. If he didn't want to drink, he could totally refuse. Hua Jinyao turned around and also noticed that something was wrong with Zhang Yichen. However, he didn't stop Zhang Yichen from drinking as Su Qingsang expected. Instead, he glanced at Su Qingsang and signaled her to pick up the glass in front of her. Neither he nor Su Qingsang had drunk any alcohol. Uncle, Qingsang and I will drink tea instead of wine. Let's toast to you. Su Qingsang was stunned. She didn't understand why Hua Jinyao still wanted Zhang Yichen to drink. He had drunk quite a lot. Zhang Yichen picked up the glass and looked at Hua Jinyao and Su Qingsang. His eyes seemed to fall on Hua Jinyao, but the focus of his eyes was on Su Qingsang. As Hua Jinyao raised the glass, he drank all the wine in it. Su Qingsang gently pulled Hua Jinyao's sleeve, signaling him to stop toasting and the others to stop trying to persuade him. Zhang Yichen quickly turned his eyes away and continued drinking. Hua Jinyao didn't try to persuade him anymore. Just now, Zhang Yichen looked like he was drunk. Her eyes were also looking at him. For a moment, he felt that he was thinking too much. Zhang Yichen's excessive drinking shocked the elders at the other table. Hua Yangxiu, Hua Yangyuan, and Old Master Hua told them to stop toasting. The group of young people settled down. Even so, Zhang Yichen was still drunk. Fortunately, he didn't drive here. Instead, he took Hua Jinyao's car. Hua Jinyao and Zhang Liangzi put Zhang Yichen in their car. Zhang Liangzi drove here. He wanted Zhang Hanlei to take care of Zhang Yichen, but Hua Jinyao said that they would be arriving at the Hua mansion soon, so Zhang Yichen could rest there. Su Peijian kept looking at Zhang Yichen with a smile on her face. That smile was so strange that Hua Yifan felt that something was wrong. My intuition tells me that you are trying to set someone up. Su Peijian didn't hide it. Why don't you guess who I want to set up? Hua Jinyao? Or Su Qingxi? Su Peijian shook her head with a smile and put her arms around Hua Yifan's neck. I really want something right now, but I don't know the person who sells it. But I believe you must have a way. What is it? Su Peijian moved closer to Hua Yifan, put her face close to his, and whispered 3 words in his ear. Hua Yifan looked at her, not quite understanding what she meant. What do you want? That's none of your business. If you can ask someone to bring it here when you get back to the Hua mansion, you'll know what I want to do. Hua Yifan looked at her deeply, then made a phone call. After hanging up, he looked at Su Peijian and said, Someone will bring the thing you want in 15 minutes. But I want to know, what do you want to do? Su Peijian didn't answer Hua Yifan's question immediately. She sat back in her seat and fastened her seat belt. By the way, I came to the Hua mansion a few times and observed them. I found that it's not that your aunt doesn't like Su Qingsang, but she doesn't like Hua Jinyao. May I ask why? If Lu Tongjia didn't like Su Qingsang, she should have told Hua Jinyao about their relationship when she found out that Su Qingsang might be related to Zhang Yichen. But he didn't do that. Instead, he kept the matter under wraps. This meant that there were 2 possibilities. The first possibility was that Lu Tongjia loved her child and wanted to protect him. She didn't want him to see the cruel reality. However, after observing Lu Tongjia's behavior, Su Peijian deduced the second possibility. Lu Tongjia didn't like Hua Jinyao at all. Therefore, she didn't care whether he was cheated on or not. Instead, she just wanted to watch a good show. Moreover, she thought that Lu Tongjia wanted to take this opportunity to slap Hua Jinyao in the face. She wanted him to know what would happen to him if he didn't listen to Lu Tongjia and marry the woman she wanted him to marry. Hua Yifan glanced at her. He wasn't surprised by the inquisitive look in her eyes and the obvious desire to gossip. However, he didn't want to answer Su Peijian's question. I don't know. I only know that Auntie has been like this since a long time ago. He knew that he used to have a big cousin. He was a very nice person. He also knew that he used to have a little cousin. She was very cute. However, after his grandmother passed away that year, the existence of these two people became taboo and couldn't be mentioned again. It seemed that Hua Jinyao had been hated by Lu Tongjia since then. They weren't involved in the specifics at the time, and old Master Hua had ordered them to keep it a secret, so none of them dared to mention it, let alone figure it out. Su Peijian could tell from Hua Yifan's expression that he really didn't know. She did not feel discouraged. Perhaps this was another point that she could start with. There must be a special reason for a mother to hate her child so much. Well, if she were to add to the fire on that ground, that would be really interesting. Hua Jinyao settled Zhang Yichen in the guest room. Lu Tongjia had made the necessary arrangements a long time ago when she found out that her relatives would be staying at the Hua mansion. Zhang Yichen's room was on the 3rd floor. After all, he had always been on good terms with old Master Hua. Old Master Hua's room was on the 3rd floor. However, Hua Jinyao didn't know about Lu Tongjia's arrangement. He wanted to go back to his room, so he directly sent Zhang Yichen to the guest room on the 2nd floor next to his own. Su Qingsang was going back to her room to rest, but for that reason she followed Hua Jinyao. She watched as Hua Jinyao walked Zhang Yichen back to his room and put him on the bed. He really seems to be very drunk. Should I ask someone to bring him a bowl of soup? Hua Jinyao didn't object. I'll call inside and ask Xia to bring it up. He turned to look at Su Qingsang. There was no worry or concern in her eyes. She looked as if a relative had come to visit her. He felt like he should be the host. You must be tired. Go back to your room and rest. I'm here. Su Qingsang didn't object. She didn't want to stay here, especially when she thought of how awkward she had been when she met Zhang Yichen several times. After she left, Hua Jinyao looked at Zhang Yichen's face, which was so red that it was almost purple. Was the look he gave Su Qingsang on purpose or not? After all, they had grown up together. Hua Jinyao didn't want to think too badly of Zhang Yichen. He waited for a while, but Xia didn't bring up the soup. He walked out of the room to ask Xia what was going on. There were many guests that day. Although Zhang Yichen was the one who drank the most, there were also people who drank a lot. The elders all drank a little. At that moment, Lu Tongjia was ordering people to bring them the soup. Hua Jinyao stood on the stairs and listened to Lu Tongjia's instructions. The soup would be delivered, so he didn't worry anymore. He turned and went upstairs to Zhang Yichen's room to wait. At that time, Su Peijian was helping in the kitchen. She had been here several times. Now that she was in the kitchen, Uncle Cheng and Xia didn't dare to let Su Peijian do anything. Don't be nervous. I'm not here to make trouble. I'm here to help. There are many guests outside. You want to send refreshments and drinks? Now you're even bringing soup. Auntie saw me just now, so I volunteered to help. Lu Tongjia thought that Su Peijian wanted to show off, so she waved her hand and asked her to come to the kitchen. Su Peijian liked to show off, so she could do whatever she wanted. Did she really think that she could please old Master Hua like that? How naive. Xia and Jiang knew that Su Peijian came here often, so they didn't think much of it. Su Peijian stepped forward and pointed at one of the trays. This is the soup you prepared for the guests, right? Let me carry it. Xiao Jiang and Xiao Xia couldn't argue with Su Peijian, so they told her who the hangover soup was for. Xiao Jiang led Su Peijian upstairs. Su Peijian was only here to help, but this was Jiang's job. Then you lead the way. I'll carry it from behind. Su Peijian smiled warmly. Jiang let her guard down. They worked as maids in the Hua family. Their salary was higher than outside, and the work wasn't too tiring. The master was quite polite to them. However, there weren't many people who were as kind as Su Peijian. Jiang enjoyed it very much. She walked in front and quickened her pace. Su Peijian followed behind her and delivered the guests who had drunk a little too much and wanted to give them soup to sober them up. Now, there was only one bowl left. Su Peijian followed Jiang into the guest room that Lu Tongjia had arranged for Zhang Yichen, but she didn't find him. Jiang thought for a moment. In the past, when Zhang Yichen came, he would stay next to Hu Jinyao. Could he be here this time? Maybe he's next to young master. There's only one bowl left. Miss Su, let me do it. Sure. Su Peijian handed the tray to Jiang with a smile. Uncle's bowl is the only one left, right? Yes, this is the only one left. Let me do it. Go and rest. Thank you for today. You're welcome. It's nothing. The most important thing is to share Auntie's and Grandpa Hua's worries. Jiang nodded. She understood Su Peijian's choice. Although Su Qingsang was going to marry Hua Yifan, Lu Tongjia and Old Master Hua were the ones who had more authority in this family. She carried the soup to Zhang Yichen's room next to Hu Jinyao's. Su Peijian wasn't in a hurry to leave. She walked very slowly toward the stairs. However, when she was halfway up the stairs, she turned around and walked toward Hu Jinyao's room. When she arrived at Zhang Yichen's room, Jiang had already gone in. She seemed to be able to see the sleeping figure on the bed. She knew that Zhang Yichen was dead drunk. The effect of the medicine wouldn't work immediately. Chapter 571. Zhang Yichen was indeed very drunk. His eyes were closed. The excessive alcohol and the fact that he hadn't drunk like this for a long time put him in an extremely uncomfortable state. Hu Yangxiu had come up to see him. She was touched when she saw Hu Jinyao taking care of him. She was old and had flown to Rong City early that morning. Hu Jinyao told her to go back to her room and rest. He could take care of Zhang Yichen. Hu Jinyao didn't think much of it when Xia brought the soup over. He called Zhang Yichen's name in a low voice. Seeing that Zhang Yichen didn't respond, he helped him up and let him drink. Su Peijian just wanted to make sure that Zhang Yichen drank all the soup. She didn't need to care about what happened next. She saw Zhang Yichen drink the soup to dispel the hangover. Su Peijian had only heard about this kind of thing before, but she had never tried it herself. She wouldn't try it, so she didn't know how effective it was. When Xiao Xia came out after delivering the soup, Su Peijian was nowhere to be seen. The room was quiet. Hu Jinyao stood next to Zhang Yichen and looked at him. His slightly narrowed eyes were a little worried and a little curious. Did Zhang Yichen have a misunderstanding about Su Qingsang, or the person sleeping on the bed didn't respond? Hu Jinyao stared at him for a while and was about to leave. Zhang Yichen, who was lying on the bed, opened his eyes. "Uncle? How are you?" Zhang Yichen had drunk the wine. In his half-awake state, he felt that he saw Su Qingsang. The word uncle was very soft, but it sounded familiar. He had heard it somewhere before. He tried to open his eyes to see clearly, but the alcohol and the drugs stimulated the deepest desire in his heart. Qingsang? Hu Jinyao was stunned by the two simple words. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face and spoke very softly. "Uncle, what did you call me?" His voice was too soft to be heard clearly. Zhang Yichen felt that the voice came from far away, but it also seemed to be very close. He was drugged. Although it wasn't an aphrodisiac, the one Su Peijian chose for him could arouse the deepest desire in his heart. He blinked, trying to see the person in front of him clearly, but he couldn't. Hu Jinyao took a step forward and stood by the bed. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face, his facial features becoming more and more profound. "Uncle, who are you calling?" "Qingsang." Normally, no amount of alcohol would make Zhang Yichen lose his composure. But now, the desire in his heart had reached an uncontrollable level. He suddenly reached out and grabbed Hu Jinyao's wrist. His movement was so sudden that Hu Jinyao was caught off guard. She fell against Zhang Yichen's body. Zhang Yichen hugged Hu Jinyao tightly. With the help of the drug, he couldn't even tell that the person in front of him wasn't Su Qingsang. Qingsang. The emotions that he had been suppressing were now completely released under the effects of alcohol and drugs. Even so, Zhang Yichen still cared about their identities. He didn't say anything else to Su Qingsang. Hu Jinyao couldn't move. His speculation had become a reality. With great difficulty, he propped himself up and stared at Zhang Yichen, who was bewildered and confused. You like Qingsang? He couldn't like her. He couldn't like her. In the end, Zhang Yichen nodded. Qingsang, I like you. She was so special and so smart. He didn't feel it the first time they met, but he felt it again and again. In fact, he didn't spend much time with her. But because of that, he couldn't forget her. Qingsang, Qingsang, I like you. He hugged Hu Jinyao and whispered how much he missed him. But that was all. His strong willpower was in conflict with his inner feelings. Even if what he was seeing was just an illusion, he didn't want to and couldn't do more to Su Qingsang. The others didn't understand, but Hu Jinyao did. He restrained himself. Even when he was hugging him, he controlled his strength. He couldn't help but move away from his arms. He was strong, and Zhang Yichen was drunk at the moment, so he easily moved away from Zhang Yichen's arms. Sitting on the edge of the bed, he looked at Zhang Yichen, who was reaching for her again. He suddenly leaned forward. Uncle, I'm married. Have you forgotten? He didn't feel anger or hatred. He understood Su Qingsang's charm. Any man who spent time with Su Qingsang would find her good side. Zhang Yichen found it too. It was normal. Married? Zhang Yichen was confused. The Su Qingsang in front of him seemed more and more unreal. For a moment, he thought he was looking at Hu Jinyao. How could it be Hu Jinyao? He grabbed Su Qingsang's hand. He looked like he was in pain. I know you're married. I know. His voice was hoarse and incoherent, and he sounded like he was in deep pain. He knew that she was married, and her husband was his nephew. That was why he had been trying so hard to suppress it. But why did he fall in love with his nephew's woman? But why are you married? But wasn't I the one who met you first? Zhang Yichen's voice was filled with pain. The greatest pain was not being able to get what one wanted. Qingsang. Qingsang. Hu Jinyao looked at Zhang Yichen's face, and Zhang Yichen looked back at him. The drug was starting to take effect. The hallucination in front of Zhang Yichen became more and more obvious. To his surprise, he saw Su Qingsang staring at him with a gentle face. Qingsang, 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 if I were the one you met first, would you like me? He reached out and hugged her again. Tell me, would you like me too? Would you? He couldn't forget the first time they met. They stood in the corridor of the hospital. She raised her eyebrows and looked at him with a faint smile on her face. She was so smart. Hu Jinyao couldn't listen to it anymore. He gritted his teeth. The moment Zhang Yichen tightened his arms, Hu Jinyao suddenly chopped at the back of his neck. Caught off guard, Zhang Yichen passed out just like that. Hu Jinyao moved away from his arms and patted his clothes. His body quickly took a big step back. Staring at Zhang Yichen's face, he pursed his lips and looked a little angry. Zhang Yichen was coveting his wife. Even though Zhang Yichen was his uncle and they were close, Hu Jinyao couldn't stand it. Not only could he not stand it, but he was also very angry. He knew that Su Qingsang was his wife. But he still did it. Hu Jinyao's chest rose and fell violently. He stared at Zhang Yichen's face for a while, but he didn't want to stay there any longer. He turned around and went back to his room. Su Qingsang was resting in her room, with 2 or 3 thick professional books by her side. She was very focused on the books. Occasionally, she would pick up a pen and make notes. Before she could finish writing, Hu Jinyao suddenly hugged her. Su Qingsang was startled, and she almost dropped the pen in her hand. Jinyao. She felt that Hu Jinyao wasn't going to let go of her, so she had to put the book and pen aside. Inevitably, she had to move away from his arms for a while. But even for a while, Hu Jinyao quickly reached out and hugged her tightly again. Su Qingsang was stunned. Her body was pressed tightly in his arms and she couldn't move. Jinyao. She called him a few times, but Hu Jinyao didn't let go of her. Su Qingsang couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Hu Jinyao didn't let go. He thought of what Zhang Yichen had said. Why didn't I meet you first? What if Zhang Yichen had met Su Qingsang first? Would Su Qingsang fall in love with Zhang Yichen? Jinyao. He didn't move. Su Qingsang was even more confused. Where was Hu Jinyao just now? Weren't you taking care of my uncle? Hearing Su Qingsang mention Zhang Yichen, Hu Jinyao let go of her, stepped back, and looked at Su Qingsang's face. Do you care about him? Ke? They were relatives. Shouldn't he show some concern? Isn't he your uncle? Yes, I know he's my uncle. Hu Jinyao nodded. If that person hadn't been Zhang Yichen, but someone else, he would have punched him. What was the saying on the internet? I treat you like a brother, but you want to sleep with my wife. Wasn't that the situation he was facing now? However, Zhang Yichen wasn't just his brother. He still remembered that after the kidnapping he had nightmares and couldn't sleep well at night. At that time, old Master Hu couldn't help him, so he hired a psychiatrist for him. However, the psychiatrist couldn't save him, and he still had nightmares. It was Hu Yangxiu who suggested sending him to the army. At that time, Zhang Yichen was already in the army. Hu Jinyao followed him. They did exercises together, did morning exercises together, and did drills together. He was only a teenager at that time, but Zhang Yichen trained him like an adult. However, the effect was also very direct. He was very tired every day, extremely tired. As a result, he slept like a log at night. He didn't even have a dream, let alone a nightmare. Zhang Yichen was only a few years older than him. However, he told himself, a man's growth doesn't depend on what he has lost. It depends on what he has endured. He told himself that as a man, he shouldn't keep thinking about the past. No matter what, he had to move on. He knew that even without Zhang Yichen's encouragement, he could move on. However, because of Zhang Yichen's existence, he got rid of those nightmares earlier. Later, he had nightmares occasionally, but most of the time, those nightmares didn't bother him anymore. Obviously, there was something wrong with him. Su Qingsang looked at him sideways and couldn't help but ask her question. What's wrong? Did you have an argument with uncle? Hu Jinyao glanced at her. Her eyes were clear and calm, without any hint of flirtation. He was sure that Zhang Yichen's feelings must be one-sided. Su Qingsang's personality meant that she would never cheat in a marriage. It wasn't her personality, nor was it her style. However, what if the person she had met was Zhang Yichen? Would she still have made the same choice? Would she have fallen in love with Zhang Yichen? After all, even he couldn't deny that Zhang Yichen was outstanding. Honey, if you hadn't married me, would you have fallen in love with another man? Hu Jinyao couldn't ask the rest of the question when he met Su Qingsang's clear eyes. He shook his head and hugged her tightly again. I'm fine. I just feel a little tired. He must be crazy to doubt Su Qingsang because of a drunkard's words. Zhang Yichen was drunk. Whatever he said didn't count. More importantly, he trusted Su Qingsang. He didn't want to mention Zhang Yichen anymore. He didn't want Zhang Yichen to show his existence in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't answer her question, so Su Qingsang didn't ask anymore. Her attention was diverted. If you're tired, you can rest for a while. Su Qingsang glanced at the time. It was still early for dinner anyway. You rest? I'll read. Hu Jinyao shook his head, hugged her tightly, and lay on the bed with her. You sleep with me. He held her in his arms and didn't do anything else. He rested his chin on the top of her head. He had decided to trust Su Qingsang, but he couldn't help but think of what Zhang Yichen said. He said that he had kissed Su Qingsang. Hui Yifan watched Su Peijian walk into the room. She had a smile on her face. That smile was full of calculation. Who did you give the medicine to? Su Peijian had said that she would take full responsibility for this, so he didn't ask. You're not going to give it to Su Qingsang, are you? Hu Jinyao might kill you. Who said I was giving it to Su Qingsang? I gave it to someone else. Someone else? Where did that come from? Don't ask. Anyway, I believe that what I did today will be of great help to both of us. Did you give that medicine to Hu Jinyao? I told you not to ask. Why are you still asking? Su Peijian sat on his lap and put her arms around his neck. Don't worry. Naturally, I will use it on the right person. Hui Yifan pulled her waist to his side and pinched her chin with his other hand. You're smiling like a fox. I don't believe you didn't do anything. But in this mansion, who else can make you use it? Su Peijian lowered her head and gently bit his finger. She blinked and looked at him with a seductive look. I didn't plan to do anything to Su Qingsang and Hu Jinyao today. She was only planning to plant a seed of doubt. Zhang Yichen was drunk and drugged. He would definitely lose his composure. Looking at the photo and the look in his eyes, Su Qingsang could tell that he was trying to control himself. She wouldn't mind if she didn't have a chance to have sex with a man like that. Once he had the chance, the more he tried to control himself, the harder it would be to control himself. Once Zhang Yichen lost his composure, the seed of doubt would be planted in Hu Jinyao's heart. Hu Jinyao might not suspect Su Qingsang at the beginning, nor would he do anything to her at the beginning. But what if the seed grew bigger and bigger? What if the seed grew into a big tree and Hu Jinyao saw it? Would he still be able to stay calm then? Su Peijian gently brushed her lips against Hu Yifan's finger and turned her head to look at him. Don't worry. We're about to have a good show. Hu Yifan didn't like Su Peijian hiding everything from him. He gripped her chin and scanned her face with his sharp eyes. Woman, are you hiding something from me? Yes. Su Peijian didn't deny it at all. Everyone has secrets. I just don't want to tell you right now. Can't I? Hu Yifan narrowed his eyes and suddenly turned over, pressing Su Peijian under his body. But since you don't want to tell me your secret, I have to find out about it. Then I'll have to find out about your other secrets. Su Peijian smiled. She lifted her legs and hooked them around his waist. She cooperated with him. Lu Tongjia was very busy today as the hostess of the Hua family. She had too many things to deal with. She had to take care of all the guests and settle them down. She also had to talk to some of her cousins who rarely came. She sent them back to their rooms to rest. She was busy just now and didn't have time to talk to Su Peijian. She wanted to show off in front of old Master Hua, so she let her be. When she was done, she suddenly thought of Su Peijian. Didn't that woman just say that she would help her? Where did she go? She called Xiao Xia and asked her. She sneered inwardly. She really had to give up on Su Peijian. She called her help by serving a hangover soup? Lu Tongjia really didn't like Su Peijian's opportunism. Not to mention working with Su Peijian. It was true that she didn't like Su Qingsang, but her mind was very clear. She waved her hand and asked Xiao Xia to get to work. She seemed to suddenly think of something. Xiao Jiang. Zhang Yichen, he seems to have drunk a lot. Did you send him some hangover soup? I did. I sent it with Miss Su. Young Master Hua is taking care of him in his room. Hu Jinyao was taking care of Zhang Yichen in his room? Lu Tongjia suddenly felt a little suffocated when she thought of the photos Xiao Jiang had taken. She waved her hand and asked Xiao Xia to leave. Everyone had been arranged. For those who didn't want to sleep, there were different functional rooms in the Hua family for them to move around. She looked upstairs and finally made a turn in the corridor, planning to go to Zhang Yichen's room. But she didn't expect that when she walked over, the guest room was empty. There was no one in it. She immediately called Xiao Xia and asked where Zhang Yichen was. Xiao Xia only said that young Master Hua was taking care of Zhang Yichen, but she didn't say which room he was in. Hearing Lu Tongjia's question, she thought she was worried about Hu Jinyao. She told Lu Tongjia that Zhang Yichen was in the room next to Hu Jinyao's. Lu Tongjia's face became more and more gloomy. She naturally wouldn't think that this was Hu Jinyao's habit. She thought that it must be Su Qingsang's idea. She put her husband in the room next to her own. That was enough. Hu Jinyao was still there. How could Su Qingsang be so shameless? She was angry. Without thinking, she went upstairs to Hu Jinyao's room. She almost had the urge to tell Hu Jinyao about Zhang Yichen and Su Qingsang's dirty things. However, when she walked to Zhang Yichen's room, before she could open the door, she saw Su Qingsang rush out of the room. Her clothes were a little messy. Her hair was also messy. When she saw Lu Tongjia, Su Qingsang was stunned for a moment, then her face instantly turned red. Lu Tongjia's expression changed when she saw Su Qingsang's guilty look. She took a step forward and stared at Su Qingsang's face. She still remembered what Xiao Xia said. Hu Jinyao was taking care of Zhang Yichen in the room. Was that Hu Jinyao in the room? But what was Zhang Yichen doing? Wasn't Zhang Yichen in the room too? Auntie. Su Qingsang nodded and was about to go to her room next door. However, Lu Tongjia blocked her way. She glanced into the room. What was going on? Where is Hu Jinyao? Where is he? He's in the room, Su Qingsang said quickly. She walked around Lu Tongjia and was about to leave. Chapter 572. Su Qingsang's attitude made Lu Tongjia even more certain that there was something wrong with Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang. Before she could finish her sentence, she saw Zhang Yichen, who was also disheveled, open the door. When he saw Su Qingsang, he held her in his arms. Su Qingsang's whole body froze. She was being held by another man in front of her mother-in-law. And this man was Hu Jinyao's uncle? It couldn't get any more embarrassing. She struggled, trying to get Zhang Yichen to let go of her. However, Zhang Yichen was so strong that she didn't have a chance. Lu Tongjia's face turned green when she saw what was happening. What are you doing? Auntie, it's not what you think. Su Qingsang was so embarrassed. She didn't understand how things had turned out like this. Hu Jinyao said he was going to sleep, and he really fell asleep with her in his arms. The problem was that she didn't want to sleep today. Not only did she not want to sleep, but she was also very energetic. After Hu Jinyao fell asleep, she picked up her professional book and continued reading. However, her phone rang after a short while. It was Shi Mengwan. Su Qingsang didn't think much about it because she didn't want to wake Hu Jinyao up. She walked out of the room with her phone and stood at the end of the corridor. It was the study and there was no one there. It was a good place for her to talk to Shi Mengwan. She could feel that Shi Mengwan was in a bad mood. In fact, Shi Mengwan was in a bad mood. She had gone to France to participate in the local design competition. After the preliminary round, she had participated in the semi-finals. She had the greatest hope of making it to the finals. Even if Shi Mengwan couldn't win a place in the final, it was an affirmation of her ability to participate in the competition. Shi Mengwan was still very young. She was already very happy that she had made it this far. However, extreme joy turned to sorrow. She didn't expect that she would be successful in her career, but frustrated in her love life. Ever since she accidentally got involved with Zhang Haoze, she knew that Chen Feifei was with Zhang Haoze. She tried her best to resist. She didn't want to be a mistress. However, she couldn't escape the desire in her heart, nor could she escape the desire to make Zhang Haoze think of her. Coincidentally, she had a relationship with Zhang Haoze. She hadn't figured out where to go with this relationship. She wanted to take the opportunity of going to France to think about it. However, she didn't expect that when she went to France, she would see the news of Zhang Haoze and Chen Feifei's engagement in the local media in Lin City. At that moment, she almost wanted to abandon the French competition and fly back home. She wanted to ask Zhang Haoze personally. Why was he doing this to her? She wanted to ask him, if the person he wanted to marry was Chen Feifei, then what was she? If he was just playing with her, why wouldn't he let her go? But in the end, he couldn't bring himself to ask those questions. Because she couldn't contact him at all. At first, he just didn't pick up her calls. Later, his phone was turned off. Shi Mengwan lowered her head. She couldn't tell what she was feeling, but she felt uncomfortable. He had no one to talk to about this kind of discomfort, let alone to his own family. After thinking about it for a long time, she could only call Su Qingsang to confide in her, even though she hadn't slept all night. Su Qingsang picked up Shi Mengwan's call and sensed something unusual in her tone. She took the phone to the study to answer the call. Shi Mengwan was about to say something, but she couldn't say it. Even if it was her best friend, she couldn't say that she had become someone else's mistress. Moreover, she had been willing to be a mistress from the beginning. Seriously speaking, what right did she have to criticize Zhang Haoze? Shi Mengwan didn't know where to tell Su Qingsang what was on her mind. She only told Su Qingsang some happy things in France. Su Qingsang sensed that something was wrong. She asked again and again, but Shi Mengwan only said that she was too tired from the competition. She didn't mention a word about Zhang Haoze. Su Qingsang couldn't find out the reason, so she could only give up. She hung up and was about to go back when Su Yusen called her again. Today was the Dragon Boat Festival, so she couldn't go back to Lin City for the festival. Su Yusen and Li Qianxue both missed her very much. She hadn't reached her room yet. Because she answered the phone, she stopped for a moment. She didn't know that Zhang Yichen was drugged and was sleeping in the room next door. Hu Jinyao was angry just now, so he left in a hurry and didn't close the door. Su Qingsang's voice wasn't loud, but who was Zhang Yichen? He was a soldier, so his hearing was quite good. More importantly, he was drugged. Anyone's voice sounded like Su Qingsang's voice to him. Previously, Hu Jinyao's knife hand strike had knocked him out for just a moment. His well-trained body made him wake up in the shortest time possible. Although he was awake, he wasn't completely awake. Alcohol and drugs, plus Hu Jinyao's chop just now. He was more and more immersed in his own hallucination. At that moment, he heard Su Qingsang's voice. He stood up and walked out of the door, wanting to hear more clearly. The door opened. Su Qingsang was standing at the door, talking on the phone. As soon as she hung up the phone with Su Yusen, Zhang Yichen put his arms around her waist. Su Qingsang was caught off guard by someone hugging her from behind. She was startled. She was already at the door of the room. At first, she thought it was a prank by Hu Jinyao. Jinyao, what are you doing? They were in the hallway. Before she could finish, Hu Jinyao had already put his arms around her waist and brought her back to the room. Su Qingsang realized something was wrong almost as soon as she entered the room. The person behind her wasn't Hu Jinyao. If it wasn't Hu Jinyao, then who was it? She struggled, but her body was held down by Zhang Yichen. He mumbled something, but Su Qingsang didn't hear it clearly. In fact, Zhang Yichen was calling her name. But Su Qingsang didn't hear it clearly. She only heard Zhang Yichen's voice. She didn't need to hear to know that this room belonged to Zhang Yichen. He was drunk. That was Su Qingsang's first reaction. After realizing that, she forced herself to calm down. Uncle, you're drunk. Let me go. Zhang Yichen held her tightly. The hallucination in front of him became real. He turned her body around. Suddenly, Su Qingsang made eye contact with Zhang Yichen. She was startled by him. What a pair of red eyes. They were very red. Asterisk uncle? Asterisk Zhang Yichen's breath reeked of alcohol. Su Qingsang turned her face away uncomfortably. She didn't think too much about it. She just thought that Zhang Yichen was drunk. Zhang Yichen stared at the hallucination in front of him. His mind was blank and confused. His reason and his desire were fighting in his heart. The fragrance of the person in his arms was so real. It was so real that he almost thought that it wasn't an illusion. But even if it was an illusion, he didn't want to, because it was an offense. Zhang Yichen fought with himself. In the end, he could only hold the person in his arms tightly. He thought that it was an illusion. But it didn't work. Instead, the smell made him more and more tempted. Su Qingsang. Those two words flashed through his mind again. He couldn't say it out loud. He could only murmur it to himself. Su Qingsang couldn't hear it clearly. She didn't want to hear it clearly. Uncle, let me go. Zhang Yichen lowered his head, wanting to take a deep breath of her scent. Su Qingsang was startled. Without any hesitation, she raised her foot and kicked Zhang Yichen's calf. If it were any other time, she wouldn't have been able to do that. But today, Zhang Yichen was drugged. He was obviously out of his mind. He had also tried his best to protect her, which allowed Su Qingsang to escape from his arms. Su Qingsang had been hugged and pressed against by Zhang Yichen. Her hair was messy, and her clothes weren't as tidy as before. However, she didn't expect to run into Lu Tongjia as soon as she went out. The situation made her feel so embarrassed that she wanted to die. She didn't have time to explain to Lu Tongjia. Zhang Yichen, who was behind her, rushed out and hugged her again. Lu Tongjia's face turned completely green. She pointed at the two of them, her face livid. Lu Tongjia glared at Su Qingsang. She wanted to burn a hole in Su Qingsang's body with her eyes. What are you doing? Lu Tongjia's face darkened. If her eyes were solid, Su Qingsang would have been crushed into powder. Auntie, it's not what you think. Uncle is drunk. Drunk? Lu Tongjia was so angry that she laughed. What a shameless couple. You've done such a shameless thing and you're trying to cover it up? Well, do you think everyone else is stupid? His words were a little harsh, but Su Qingsang couldn't care less now. She struggled, trying to make Zhang Yichen let go of her. However, Zhang Yichen's strength wasn't something she could fight back against. Lu Tongjia's whole body trembled. She pointed at Su Qingsang, feeling very angry. How dare you? This was really going against the heavens. How can you be so shameless? Don't you have any shame? Su Qingsang, don't forget who you are. Of course, Su Qingsang wouldn't forget who she was. She also felt embarrassed. But she didn't want the situation to be like this. Auntie, please do me a favor. It's really not what you think. Uncle is drunk. Hua Jinyao walked out of the room as soon as she finished speaking. He had been sleeping, but was woken up by the sudden noise. Hearing Lu Tongjia's suppressed voice, he walked out. He didn't expect to see the scene in front of him. Jinyao. Su Qingsang's face was full of surprise when she saw him. You're here. Come and help me pull uncle away. He's drunk. Hua Jinyao glanced at Su Qingsang, then looked at Zhang Yichen, who was holding her tightly. Drunk? Was he drunk, or was he pretending to be drunk to take advantage of her? Thinking of how Zhang Yichen had mistaken him for Su Qingsang, he couldn't help but feel angry. He took a few steps forward and pulled Su Qingsang away from Zhang Yichen's arms. Without hesitation, he punched Zhang Yichen's cheek. Zhang Yichen didn't wake up after being punched. He stood there and looked at Hua Jinyao, who was in front of him. Without thinking, he hugged him. Hua Jinyao was angry. He raised his hand and punched him again. Zhang Yichen took 2 punches in a row, but he didn't wake up. Instead, he walked towards Hua Jinyao. Su Qingsang had just escaped from Zhang Yichen's hands. She was still in shock. Meeting Lu Tongjia's eyes, she wanted to explain, but she knew that Lu Tongjia had already made up her mind. Lu Tongjia could see it with her own eyes, so Lu Tongjia wouldn't listen to her. She didn't want to explain to Lu Tongjia. As long as Hua Jinyao believed her, that was enough. She didn't know how Zhang Yichen became like this. She turned to look at Zhang Yichen. He was drunk, probably because he was drunk. However, when she saw Zhang Yichen stubbornly holding on to Hua Jinyao after Hua Jinyao punched him a few times, she began to feel that something was wrong. She was a doctor, even though she majored in obstetrics and gynecology. However, Zhang Yichen didn't look like he was drunk. Seeing that his face was red and he still wanted to hold on to Hua Jinyao, she suddenly stepped forward. Jinyao, wait. Stop hitting him. She was pleading for Zhang Yichen? Hua Jinyao's face darkened. He almost wanted to punch Zhang Yichen a few more times. Jinyao. There's something wrong with your uncle. She stepped forward and grabbed Hua Jinyao. See if you can restrain him. I'll check on him. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qingsang. Her face was serious, and she didn't look like she was joking. He looked at Zhang Yichen. He seemed to realize that something was wrong with Zhang Yichen. He stepped forward and knocked Zhang Yichen out with a karate chop. Zhang Yichen was hit a few times, and this time, he passed out completely. Hua Jinyao caught Zhang Yichen's body and put him back in the room. Su Qingsang followed him in and opened Zhang Yichen's eyes immediately. His pupils were dilated unnaturally, and he seemed to be on a rampage. Maybe it was because of the alcohol, but she also knew that there could be another reason. She had seen a pregnant woman before. That woman was pregnant, but she didn't know that she was pregnant. Someone gave her a drink, and she drank it. Later, she found out that the drink had been spiked with hallucinogens. Hallucinogens, ecstasy pills, and other drugs could sometimes cause a reaction similar to that caused by alcohol. Inexperienced doctors wouldn't be able to tell. I suspect that he drank something he shouldn't have. Su Qingsang had only suspected it, but now she could basically confirm it. She looked up at Hua Jinyao and said, Jinyao, I need a doctor in this field. I want to take a blood test for him. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qingsang and thought of Zhang Yichen's usual behavior. He had always been calm and rational, almost to the point of restraint. Today was indeed a little strange. He nodded and called the doctor. There were so many guests in the Hua family, so it wasn't a good time to send Zhang Yichen to the hospital. Lu Tongjia came in as well. She looked at the 2 people in front of her and sneered. Su Qingsang, don't try to confuse us. It's obvious that you 2 are in cahoots. You're talking nonsense to cover your tracks. I'm telling you, it's useless. Su Qingsang glanced at Lu Tongjia and didn't pay much attention to her. She looked at Hu Jinyao with expectation. As long as he believed in her, that was enough. She didn't need the whole world to agree with her. Hu Jinyao stepped forward and held her hand. He looked at Zhang Yichen, who was lying on the bed. He started to have the same worries as Su Qingsang. Su Qingsang tightened her grip on his hand. Although she looked calm, she was still afraid that Hu Jinyao would misunderstand her. I believe in you. Hu Jinyao's simple words sounded powerful and resonant. Su Qingsang smiled and held Hu Jinyao's hand with both hands. The scene in front of her eyes was so dazzling. Lu Tongjia almost couldn't stand it anymore. Good, very good indeed. I know that I have a loving son, but I didn't expect you to be so loving. She looked back and forth between Hu Jinyao and Su Qingsang, then finally looked at Hu Jinyao. Hu Jinyao, you're a grown man and married. Can you not be so naive? This woman has no feelings for you at all. To put it bluntly, she's just using you. She can hook up with Zhang Yichen behind your back today. Tomorrow, she can hook up with another man behind your back. Things are so clear now. It's completely in front of you. You still don't believe me? What? Do you want to wait until the day you catch her in bed with your own eyes to believe it? Su Qingsang's lips moved and she was about to retort because her words were really unpleasant to the ear. Hu Jinyao squeezed her hand. He turned to face Lu Tongjia, his eyes deep and firm. Mom, you don't have to say that. I believe Qingsang. I believe in her character. I also believe in Uncle's character. They won't do what you said. Good. It's really good. So I'm the bad guy now, am I? I didn't mean that. What I mean is, everything can wait for the doctor to come and examine Uncle first before we talk about it. What can you guys find out? He just drank a little. People say that wine tells the truth. Pretending to be crazy under the influence of alcohol. But isn't that what he really thinks? The two of them are already flirting and cuddling right in front of you right now. Then, when you are not around, have you ever thought that there will be more disgusting scenes when you are not around? Auntie. Su Qingsang and Hu Jinyao couldn't listen to it anymore. They looked at Lu Tongjia together, and their expressions were equally ugly. The difference was that Hu Jinyao looked indignant, while Su Qingsang looked anxious. No matter how much she didn't care about Lu Tongjia's attitude, she couldn't let her continue after what she said today. What? Do you think I said it badly? Hu Jinyao, if you're really a man, you should divorce her. Let me tell you, a woman can be incompetent and not beautiful. But at the very least, she must be loyal to her husband. Did she? Mom, don't talk nonsense. Qingsang isn't that kind of person. Auntie, I know you don't like me, but please be kind with your words. Be kind with my words? Su Qingsang, what right do you have to ask me to be kind with my words? What's wrong? You dare to do it but don't dare to admit it, right? You can do it but you're afraid of others saying it? Auntie, I think I'm innocent. I didn't do what you said. Mom, I'm also willing to believe in Qingsang's innocence. She's not that kind of woman. Lu Tongjia was angered by their gazes and nodded with hatred. You and your wife are united, but I seem to be meddlesome. Hu Jinyao, I'll wait and see you regret it. After saying this, she didn't look at Hu Jinyao at all. She glared at Su Qingsang, then turned around and went back to her room with a dissatisfied look. After she left, Su Qingsang's shoulders unconsciously slumped a little. She looked at Hu Jinyao with a little hesitation in her beautiful eyes. Jinyao? It's okay. It has nothing to do with you. Hu Jinyao held her in his arms and sighed softly. My mom is here for me. Don't worry. I understand, but I still want to say that there's nothing between Uncle and me. There's nothing between us. I know. I believe you. This was the second time Hu Jinyao said that he believed her. Su Qingsang couldn't help but reach out to hug him. Her eyes were gentle and her expression was full of satisfaction. Thank you, Jinyao. It felt so good to be trusted so much. Hu Jinyao hugged her. What he didn't say was that he did believe Su Qingsang. As for Zhang Yichen, he didn't want to know whether it was because he was drunk or because of something else that made him lose his composure. When Lu Tongjia returned to her room, she felt a headache. She didn't look well. She was so angry that her whole body was trembling. Hua Mingguang wasn't in the room. He was in his study with Hua Yangyuan's two sons. Hua Yangyuan's two sons, Hua Mingfan and Hua Mingqi, worked in different areas. Tianyu Group had invested in both areas. They were usually busy with work and rarely met each other. Now that they were together, Hua Mingguang naturally wanted to have a good chat with his two cousins. Lu Tongjia didn't have anyone to talk her out of it. She just couldn't take it anymore. She hadn't even thought of showing Hua Jinyao those ugly photos she had taken, but he was already taking her side without asking. Even though he saw Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen hugging each other with his own eyes, how could he find an excuse for Zhang Yichen? It was ridiculous and infuriating. She hadn't calmed down yet. She was still thinking about how to make Hua Jinyao face reality. On the other side, Hua Jinyao got the result after the doctor came and took Zhang Yichen's blood for a blood test. Zhang Yichen was indeed drugged. Su Qingsang looked at the result and nodded. She looked serious when she met Hua Jinyao's eyes. Jinyao, it's just as I thought. Uncle was drugged. It seems to be a hallucinogen. That would explain why Zhang Yichen was reacting like this. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qingsang. She looked calm. She attributed all of Zhang Yichen's behavior to the fact that he was drugged and drunk. However, he knew that wasn't the whole truth. There was nothing wrong with Su Qingsang, but there must be something wrong with Zhang Yichen. The drug and alcohol only made Zhang Yichen's true thoughts come to life. It didn't mean that it didn't exist. Zhang Yichen really did have that kind of feelings for Su Qingsang. He was very sure about that now. Why would he be drugged? Who drugged him? Everyone clearly ate together before. Su Qingsang couldn't figure it out. She couldn't help but look at Hua Jinyao with confusion in her eyes. Hua Jinyao stopped thinking. He didn't tell Su Qingsang about Zhang Yichen's feelings for her. Chapter 573. Hua Jinyao stood there with a cold face. His facial features were cold and his eyes were sharp. I know who drugged him. Su Qingsang couldn't figure it out at all. All the guests were relatives. Strictly speaking, Su Peijian was the only one who wasn't a relative. But why would Su Peijian drug Zhang Yichen for no reason? If it wasn't her, then who among the group of guests could it be? Hua Jinyao shook his head and put his hands on Su Qingsang's shoulders. Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. Go back to your room and rest. Then, Su Qingsang glanced at the bed. Zhang Yichen was still sleeping. The doctor had given him a preliminary treatment after receiving the test results. It wasn't that heavy. If Zhang Yichen hadn't been drunk, he wouldn't have ended up like this. Uncle had an injection. He should be sleeping. He doesn't need anyone to take care of him. Su Qingsang nodded. Even if Hua Jinyao wanted her to take care of Zhang Yichen, she didn't want to do it now. It wasn't that she didn't want to save face for her relatives. It was that after what happened just now, she didn't dare to stay. Even if Zhang Yichen was drunk, he had to be careful when he was alone with Su Qingsang and Su Qingsang. I think so too. She didn't leave in a hurry because she wanted to save face for Hua Jinyao. Su Qingsang sighed in her heart and glanced at Zhang Yichen. He didn't do it on purpose, but he was the one who brought this embarrassing situation to her. However, she wasn't really mad at him, considering that he was drugged and had drunk so much. Instead, she felt sympathy for him. She didn't know who he had offended to make him suffer like this. Su Qingsang thought it was a prank, but Hua Jinyao didn't think so. After sending Su Qingsang back to her room, he went upstairs to Lu Tongjia's room. Lu Tongjia was still angry. Her anger hadn't completely dissipated even after such a long time. After a knock on the door, Hua Jinyao appeared in the room. His hands were clenched into fists. He looked at Lu Tongjia with a complicated look. Lu Tongjia felt uncomfortable being stared at like that. Before she could say anything, Hua Jinyao had already walked up to her. He looked at Lu Tongjia with disappointment in his eyes. Why are you doing this? Lu Tongjia looked at Hua Jinyao in confusion. She had no idea what he was talking about. Tell me, why did you do this? Lu Tongjia's face darkened. What did I do? Don't tell me that just because I said a few words about your wife, you're in such a rush to stand up for her? Hua Jinyao smiled bitterly. He looked at Lu Tongjia and couldn't believe that she could say something like that at a time like this. Mom, am I really your son? Are you really my mother? You can't bear to see me happy? You can't look at me, okay? What nonsense are you talking about? Lu Tongjia was angry. Who gave you the right to talk to me like that? Do you still have any respect for your mother? If you want me to put you in my eyes, then what about you? Do you really think of me as your son? Do you? Hua Jinyao took another step forward. He was tall and strong. Even though Lu Tongjia was twice his age, she still took a step back because of Hua Jinyao's imposing manner. Hua Jinyao, get out of here. Wait till I have made myself clear. I have made myself clear. I'll get out of here. What on earth are you talking about? Uncle. Only Zhang Yichen was drugged. Drugged? You were drugged. Lu Tongjia's eyes widened in shock. How could you be drugged? What drugged? Hua Jinyao thought that she was just trying to hide something. He smiled, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Shouldn't you be the one who knows best what kind of medicine Uncle was given? What do you mean? I mean exactly what I said. For so many years, Hua Jinyao had been tolerating and giving in. He knew that Lu Tongjia didn't like him, and he knew why. He knew that he couldn't change her mind. He was used to her coldness and indifference. However, he didn't expect that one day, Lu Tongjia would use such a trick on his wife. Putting Zhang Yichen's thoughts aside, Su Qingsang was innocent. Why did she have to endure all this? Hua Jinyao, watch your attitude. What about you? Are you acting like a mother again? Hua Jinyao didn't want to bring it up. It had been a long time, and many things had been weighing on his mind. He was so heavy that he couldn't breathe. No one could truly ignore the hurt that came from their parents and relatives. He was the same. Hua Jinyao, are you blaming me? Can't I? Hua Jinyao's eyes were sharp, and he was clearly blaming her. You say that you're my mother, but what kind of mother are you? You drugged Uncle just to make me misunderstand Qingsang? I know you don't like me. But if you're unhappy with me, you can come at me. Don't hurt Qingsang. Lu Tongjia stuttered. She widened her eyes. She couldn't believe that Hua Jinyao would blame her like that. Mom, I always thought that after all these years, you should feel less resentful. But I was wrong. I don't want to talk about the past anymore. But I won't tolerate it anymore. After saying that, he turned to leave. Lu Tongjia suddenly stood in front of him. Did you say that I drugged Zhang Yichen? Didn't you? Why would I drug him? To make you misunderstand Qingsang, to make us unhappy. Don't you always like to do things like that? You have to do things that make me unhappy. Hua Jinyao. Lu Tongjia was furious. She didn't want to refute the second half of Hua Jinyao's words. She nodded her head heavily. Good, very good. I want you to misunderstand Qingsang? Is this a misunderstanding? That woman was flirting with Zhang Yichen in a place where you couldn't see her? Did I wrongly accuse her? I was just trying to make you see the truth. I believe in Qingsang's character. And what you meant by letting me see the truth was that you didn't hesitate to give Uncle that kind of despicable drug in order to frame her. I drugged Zhang Yichen? Lu Tongjia was furious. Why don't you say that he was a dirty person? He was just tricked by you. Why don't you say that you just don't want me to be happy? Lu Tongjia nodded repeatedly. She was too angry. She didn't expect Hua Jinyao to rush up to her and criticize her in such a tone. She felt a ball of fire burning in her heart, making her lose all rationality. Fine. I did it. I really don't want you to be happy. What right do you have to be happy? Hua Jinyao, do you have the right to be happy? She pointed at Hua Jinyao with a fierce look, as if she wanted to vent all the resentment she had accumulated over the years. What right do you have to be happy? Everything you have now isn't yours. It's Jinkai's. You took over your brother's position, and you killed him. Now, you have the nerve to say that I don't want you to be happy? Why should I want you to be happy? You killed my son and my daughter. Both of my children died in your hands, and you want to be happy? Based on what? What about Hua Jinyao? Why do you have to make such a request? Lu Tongjia couldn't hold it in anymore. Her eyes were red. She was not acerbic, and she was not without a mother's heart. However, Hua Jinyao had killed her motherly heart. You should have known that when you killed them. Hua Jinyao, you are going to hell. You don't have the right to be happy. Don't you? Lu Tongjia's voice became shrill, and her body began to tremble with anger. She couldn't bear it, and she didn't want to. In fact, for so many years, she and Hua Jinyao had been maintaining a peaceful relationship on the surface. That was just the surface. Like a bubble, it would burst with a gentle poke. Just like now, she couldn't bear it anymore, and she didn't want to bear it anymore. Hua Jinyao looked at her and saw her revealing such a sharp side. This scene had actually happened once before. When his brother and sister had just died. At that time she was like this too. She shook his shoulder in disbelief. She asked him, "Why don't you die if you're so vicious? Why didn't you die?" Memories were usually not good. Hua Jinyao closed his eyes. When he opened them again, there was no emotion in them. That's the truth, isn't it? That's what you really think, isn't it? You've always thought that way. It's just that all these years, you've been suppressing those thoughts. For you, you actually hoped that I was the one who died in that accident, right? His voice was very soft, but every word was like a raindrop hitting her heart. Lu Tongjia felt a little uncomfortable for some reason, but she suppressed that discomfort. That's what you said, not what I said. She didn't say that now, but she had already said it back then. Hua Jinyao nodded. He stood up straight and his back was straight. He was tall and strong. He was mature and calm. He was Hua Jinyao, the invincible Hua Jinyao. He forced himself to be calm and indifferent, even though his heart had been riddled with holes by Lu Tongjia. But he couldn't show it on his face. He just stared at Lu Tongjia. His gaze was indifferent, and his expression was calm. However, his eyes were as deep as the sea, making it impossible to see the bottom. Do you know? I've been thinking the same thing for so many years. Why wasn't I the one who died in that accident back then? Lu Tongjia's body trembled, and her legs were a little weak. She forced herself to stand still. I'm telling the truth. Hua Jinyao looked at her and said word by word in a very soft tone. I really hope that the person who died back then was me. If the person who died was really me, I think you wouldn't be so resentful now, right? Hua Jinyao closed his eyes. He didn't want to stay any longer, so he turned around and walked straight to the door. The moment his hand touched the door handle, he stopped. He didn't turn around. He just stared at a certain spot. Tianyu Group belongs to Dad, but it also belongs to Grandpa. You don't like me and want to give Tianyu Group to someone else. I know, and I don't care. Grandpa once said that Big Brother is gone. I am the eldest grandson of the Hua family. I have to shoulder my responsibility as the eldest grandson. Whether it's Tianyu Group or the Hua family, they are all my responsibility. If you really think that I don't deserve to sit in this position, I can go and convince Grandpa. Give the position of CEO to someone else. I don't want it. Whether it's the Hua family's things or Tianyu Group, or even myself. You can do whatever you want. I'll do whatever you want. Just a little. That's my bottom line. That's Su Qingseng. You can deal with me in any way you want. You can take away everything I have now. But if you hurt Su Qingseng, I won't let it go just like that. His grip on the door handle tightened. Finally, he opened the door and left without looking back. After he left, Lu Tongjia's legs turned to jelly. She couldn't stand and fell to the ground. She looked at the tightly closed door. For a moment, she wondered if she had done something wrong. But no one could tell her the answer. Hua Mingguang wasn't here. She couldn't discuss this matter with anyone else. She just sat on the ground. The ground was covered with a thick plush carpet, so it wasn't cold. However, she felt waves of coldness coming from all directions and surrounding her tightly. She raised her hand and pressed it against her heart, trying to convince herself that she wasn't wrong. What was wrong with her? Look at Hua Jinyao's attitude. What did he mean by his bottom line was Su Qingseng? In his heart, only Su Qingseng was human. These family members were not human anymore, right? In his heart, he only cared about Su Qingseng. She wasn't his mother, was she? Lu Tongjia kept coming up with excuses. She kept telling herself that Hua Jinyao was wrong and that he had gone too far. Look, he even slandered her and said that she drugged Zhang Yichen. Did she need to drug Zhang Yichen? Even without the drug, Zhang Yichen would still want to be with Su Qingsang. Why would he need her to add fuel to the fire? She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong at all. However, no matter how hard she tried to convince herself, Hua Jinyao's words and the expression on his face kept echoing in her mind. Over and over again. If he had been the one who had died, Lu Tongjia's body trembled and she fell to the ground again. She put her hands on the carpet and tried to push those thoughts away. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong. She was right. But this time, even she wasn't sure about herself. When Hua Jinyao returned to the room, Su Qingsang had just taken a shower. When Zhang Yichen held her in his arms, she smelled of alcohol, which made her very uncomfortable. As a doctor, even if she wasn't a Virgo, she was more obsessed with cleanliness than the average person. She had just dried her hair when Hua Jinyao came in. Jinyao. He said that he was going to find the person who drugged her. Su Qingsang asked him who it was, but he wouldn't tell her. Seeing his gloomy face, she looked at him worriedly. Before she could get up, Hua Jinyao walked behind her and hugged her. Jinyao. He hugged her tightly, so tightly that she was almost buried in his body. Su Qingsang couldn't move. She raised her hands and gently hugged Hua Jinyao's back. They looked at each other without saying a word. The atmosphere in the room was silent. Su Qingsang heard Hua Jinyao's heartbeat. It seemed to be faster than usual. She couldn't help but want to raise her head, but the back of her head was pressed against his chest. She couldn't move at all. It was a very uncomfortable position, but she couldn't push him away. It wasn't that she couldn't, but that she didn't want to. She just leaned against his chest, letting him hug her tightly with a strength that could almost hurt her, not letting go. Until she heard his heartbeat slow down. She pressed her lips together and pressed her face against his chest. Who drugged me? Can you tell me? Hua Jinyao didn't say anything. She felt his body tense up. She thought for a moment. Someone who could make Hua Jinyao act like this couldn't be an outsider. That drug, was it your mother who drugged me? She wasn't sure. At least, she couldn't think of a reason why Lu Tongjia would do that. However, Hua Jinyao's body stiffened almost instantly, which made her sure of it. She suddenly raised her head, ignoring his hand that was still on the back of her head. Her pretty eyes were full of shock. She looked at him in disbelief. Really? Hua Jinyao pressed his lips into a straight line. He hugged her very tightly. Su Qingsang didn't know what to say. She was a smart woman. She didn't even need to think to figure out why Lu Tongjia did that. She didn't like me, so she drugged Zhang Yichen? So that you would see it and misunderstand me? No way. She went around in circles just to set me up? If that was the case, Su Qingsang really admired Lu Tongjia. No one else could be so calculative. Hua Jinyao looked at Su Qingsang and hugged her again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Su Qingsang could sense the apology in his words, but she still felt that something was wrong, as if something was wrong. That's not right. Su Qingsang looked up at him. It doesn't make sense, does it? After all, if I didn't go out to make the call? If I didn't go out to the hallway? Won't her plan fail? Why did you go out to the hallway? Hua Jinyao thought of what happened just now. Su Qingsang glanced at her phone and said, I went out to answer the call. It was from Mengwan. I didn't want to disturb you, so I went out. So you see, it doesn't make sense at all. If I didn't go out, she wouldn't have had the chance. Besides, how did she know that I would go out to make the call at that time? I don't think she needed to know that you would call at that time. Hua Jinyao's face was cold. He thought of what Lu Tongjia had done recently, all these years. He really couldn't be happy. In fact, I think even if you didn't go out to make the call, she would have found a way to get you out at that time. Are you so sure? Of course. She was the one who brought the hangover soup. She knows very well which room Uncle usually sleeps in. Hua Jinyao looked down at Su Qingsang with a sullen face. In fact, it might be because you ran away. Another thing was that his uncle's willpower was strong. He didn't really hurt you. Otherwise, she could have called all the other members of the Hua family here. When they came and saw that you were her niece's daughter-in-law, but you had an affair with your uncle, they would misunderstand. At that time, no matter how much I trust you, I'm afraid you won't be able to stay in the Hua family anymore. It was true that Old Master Hua loved him and valued him. However, Old Master Hua wouldn't let such a scandal happen. He wouldn't allow such a thing to happen to his family. Hua Jinyao knew that, and so did Su Qingsang. If Su Qingsang and Zhang Yichen were really caught, even if she knew it was fake, what would Old Master Hua think? Even if they could find out later and say that Zhang Yichen was drunk and drugged, who would believe that? Zhang Yichen was a relative of the Hua family. He was Old Master Hua's nephew. They couldn't do anything to him, but they could turn around and deal with her. Not to mention that Zhang Yichen was a soldier. If he did such a thing, his family wouldn't tolerate him. He might even lose his military identity. Thinking about it this way, the person who drugged him was really ruthless. But she still had a strange feeling that Lu Tongjia wouldn't do such a thing. I'm telling the truth that your mother doesn't like me. But what reason does she have to deal with uncle? After all, he's Grandaunt's son. He's also Grandaunt's favorite youngest son. She has a reason. Hua Jinyao said expressionlessly. He thought of the time when he was in the army. Before he went abroad to study, he would go to Zhang Yichen's army every summer and winter vacation. Zhang Yichen and he were not only uncle and nephew, but also good friends like brothers. Lu Tongjia knew this. She just couldn't bear to see him do well. She didn't want to see anyone who was good to him, no matter who it was. She came up with such a way to drive a wedge between him and Su Qingsang, and at the same time, make his relationship with Zhang Yichen worse. Two birds with one stone. Was that right? Su Qingsang lowered her head. She felt that something was wrong. But hearing Hua Jinyao's analysis, she felt that it was normal. You don't have to excuse her. She admitted it herself. Su Qingsang's eyes widened. She was really shocked this time. She admitted it? Yes. Hua Jinyao hugged Su Qingsang again. From an angle that she couldn't see, his face was full of pain. It was so painful to be hurt by someone close to her. Hua Jinyao, Aunt might be, she wanted to say a few words for Lu Tongjia, but even she felt that such an explanation would be too weak and useless. Su Qingsang thought of what Lu Tongjia had said last time. She thought of the kidnapping and the departure of Hua Jinyao's brother and sister. She raised her head to look at Hua Jinyao. She was full of questions. She really couldn't believe that Hua Jinyao was that kind of person, even though he was still young at that time. Hua Jinyao hugged her tightly and rested his chin on the top of her head. He looked at a certain point in the void, and the nightmarish kidnapping case from that year flashed through his mind. Chapter 574. Why? Su Qingsang's heartbeat quickened. Was Hua Jinyao going to tell her what happened back then? Because Hua Jinyao paused. He didn't know what to say. Su Qingsang felt his stiffness and hesitation. She looked up at him with a gentle gaze. If you don't want to say it, then don't. She had promised him that she would give him time. There were people in the hospital who had been traumatized, and some of them were unwilling to talk about their pain for the rest of their lives. She understood that feeling. Hua Jinyao shook his head. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't want to say it. He just didn't know how to say it. There were some things that he thought he had forgotten after more than 10 years, but he hadn't. He clearly remembered every detail, every scene, every word. Those were nightmares that he could not get rid of, but now he was no longer afraid of them. But there were still repercussions. Su Qingsang moved away from his arms and held his hand tightly. Hua Jinyao. She didn't want to see him embarrassed, so she took his hand, walked to the chaise longue in the room, and sat down. She held his hand tightly in hers. Her hand was so small that it couldn't completely wrap around his big hand. But even so, she still held his hand tightly and refused to let go. Don't make things difficult for yourself. If you don't want to say it, you don't have to. Hua Jinyao looked at her holding his hand without saying a word. The conflict with Lu Tongjia was still fresh in his mind. Lu Tongjia really hated him. Actually, Lu Tongjia didn't have to hate him. He hated himself too. Didn't I tell you? I'm not the only child my parents have. Su Qingsang already knew, so she wasn't surprised. She didn't respond but just looked at Hua Jinyao. At that moment, she knew he only needed a listener. Hua Jinyao could still remember his brother's face, which was 50% similar to his, but older and more mature. He was only 2 years older than him. Back then, Hua Jinkai was only 14 years old, but he already looked like an adult. They went to school together and played basketball together. Occasionally, he would hear his brother say that he had received another love letter. Then, Big Brother would return those love letters tactfully. He was very nice to people. In the beginning, he had been nurtured little by old Master Hua. No matter where he was, he would take care of everyone's emotions. Because he had long understood that the two brothers had different personalities, and their future development would also be different. Her brother was the heir of the Hua family and the head of the Hua family. He was different. As the second son, he didn't have that much pressure. At that time, Hua Jinyao felt so lucky to have such a brother. She shielded him from the wind and rain and shouldered all the responsibilities. A steady older brother who loved to take care of others, and a younger sister. Hua Wushuang. Unparalleled in the world, what a great name. It was enough to show that in the hearts of the Hua family's parents, she was their most precious daughter. Hua Jinyao still remembered his sister's cute and childish look. He remembered that she always liked to follow behind him and call him brother with her childish voice. He still remembered every happy moment when they lived together in this mansion. He and his elder brother liked to play basketball. Every time they came back from a game, Hua Wushuang would cover her nose and say that the sweat on them stinks. She wouldn't mind the smell at all and would throw herself at them, asking them to hug her. Every time he went to school and came home, Hua Wushuang would run to him with her short legs. Brother, you're back? Brother, I missed you so much when you weren't home. Brother, I ate some snacks at home today. It was delicious. Try some too. Brother, Mom doesn't let me eat candy. I'll only eat one. Don't tell Mom, okay? Every time, Hua Wushuang would blink and slyly try to make him her accomplice. At this time, he would quietly put the candy in her mouth and make a shushing gesture. Then little Wushuang would laugh like a little squirrel. Then she stood up, leaned towards his face, and kissed him with a smack sound. She accidentally broke an antique vase that Lu Tongjia liked very much, and then she would cry. However, when she saw him, she would immediately stop crying and raise her hand. That vase was suddenly broken by a kitten. It wasn't me. After he saw through her, she snuggled into his arms and said, "Don't tell Mom. I'll be careful next time. I won't break the vase again." She was still thinking that she would be scolded, but when he took the initiative to stand up and say that she broke the vase, she confessed. She told Lu Tongjia that she broke the vase, and it had nothing to do with her brother. Sometimes, she would do something bad because she was too kind. For example, she put her favorite chocolate in his pocket, but the weather was hot and the melted chocolate stained his clothes. For example, she liked to eat ice cream, but she always had diarrhea. So she always came to the two brothers to please them, saying that she only needed to have a taste. When he turned to face Lu Tongjia, she looked guilty, as if she hadn't eaten ice cream at all. In fact, Lu Tongjia knew that she also liked to see them have a good relationship. A sister like that, soft and fragrant. A little girl who would make people feel that the world was beautiful when he held her in his arms. Her life was forever fixed at 4.5 years old. She didn't even have time to go to elementary school or high school. He didn't have the chance to watch her grow up and find a boyfriend. At that time, he could be a brother. He could teach those boys who pursued her a good lesson. So many regrets, so much pain. And so many regrets. But none of them could bring back Hua Wushuang's life, nor could they bring back her innocent smile. Hua Jinyao hated the 4 kidnappers so much. Even though they had received the punishment they deserved, so what? His brother and his sister would never come back. And their deaths were indeed related to him. Hua Jinyao still remembered that year, when he found out that he was kidnapped by those kidnappers. His first reaction was to run away. But it was too difficult. It was really too difficult. The kidnappers had guns, and their hands and feet were tied. He wanted to break free, but there was no way. Hua Jinyao forced himself to calm down. He was a child, but not an ordinary child. He couldn't escape. He knew that he couldn't escape. The man named De called the Hua family. He didn't know how the Hua family agreed. 150 million in 3 days. They were willing to pay. Hua Jinyao knew that his parents wouldn't care about 150 million. After all, their lives were priceless to Hua Mingguang and his wife. After the initial panic, Hua Jinyao had calmed down. He knew that at that moment, his anxiety wouldn't solve any problems. Both he and Hua Jinkai were aware of this. The two brothers had been brothers for many years, so they had a tacit understanding of each other. They didn't need to say anything more. They could understand each other with just a look. After the call, De had achieved his goal. He was in a good mood. He ordered Liang to buy food. This place was too remote. They had to drive out to buy food. It was getting dark. The sky outside was getting dark. Hua Jinkai and Hua Jinyao were huddled in a corner. The two brothers leaned against each other, not saying a word. They had tried to talk, but De would beat them with the butt of his gun. The two of them didn't say anything. Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai huddled together. Behind them was Hua Wushuang, who was also tied up. Hua Wushuang was younger, so she had been hit. Just now, the kidnappers had thrown her on the ground in an extremely rough manner. Her body couldn't take it, so she was still asleep. The old warehouse was big and cold, even though it was summer at that time. But at night, the temperature was not high. The warehouse was by the sea, and the sea breeze blew over, bringing with it a humid and salty feeling. The wind caused them to shiver, making them feel cold. Even the two brothers were like this, let alone Hua Wushuang. Both Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai were worried that Hua Wushuang would catch a cold. Together, they shielded Hua Wushuang's small body with their bodies, trying to protect her from the cold wind. Liang bought some food and came back. The gangsters took their own lunchboxes and started eating. No one gave the Hua siblings anything to eat. Wang Ming asked, but Brother De glared at him coldly. What? You feel sorry for them? Don't worry. 1 or 2 meals won't kill me. Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai didn't want to eat their food either. But if they didn't eat, they would be tied up for 3 days. 3 days later, they would probably starve to death. Whatever Hua Jinyao could think of, the criminals could naturally think of as well. Chen Si glanced at the Hua siblings before turning to look at De. Brother De, let's give them something to eat. Otherwise, they will starve to death on the day of the ransom. That's not good. De glanced in their direction. He agreed. Hua Jinyao thought that Chen Si was a good person when he mentioned it. He walked up to them and put down the lunchboxes, but didn't put down his chopsticks. He didn't even untie the Hua siblings. I'm sorry, young masters. What about you? Are you going to eat on your stomach? Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai were tied up and lying on the ground. If they really wanted to eat the lunchboxes on the ground, they would have to lie on their stomachs. As the young master of the Hua family, Hua Jinkai had never been humiliated like this before. He raised his foot to kick Chen Si, but Hua Jinyao stopped him. However, she was stopped by Hua Jinyao. He was also angry. He was angry. But they had guns and the others had knives. They were no match for them. If they really fought, they would be at a disadvantage. With that in mind, Hua Jinyao wouldn't let Hua Jinkai resist. After all, he had heard many stories like this when he was in the army with Zhang Yichen. Hua Jinkai was the eldest son of the Hua family, so he calmed down quickly. He glanced at Hua Jinyao, signaling with his eyes that he was fine. However, it was impossible for the two of them to eat like dogs. The two of them sat across from each other. Neither of them touched the lunchboxes. Boy, you have guts. Never mind. Let's see how long you can last. Chen Si turned and walked away. When he returned to the place where the lunchboxes were, he exclaimed, Damn it! How are we going to eat with masks on? The others turned to look at Hua Jinyao and his brother. Liang, Chen Si, and Wang Ming were different from Brother De. Only Brother De wasn't wearing a mask. The other 3 were all wearing masks. De was a Class A wanted criminal. His arrest warrant had been issued all over the country. However, the 3 of them weren't. They didn't want to end up like that. They didn't want to be seen by the Hua siblings, so they all wore masks. It was time for dinner, But the three of them weren't in front of the Hua siblings. Fortunately, the warehouse was spacious. The three of them went to the other side of the warehouse and finished their dinner. Just as they finished their dinner, Hua Wushuang woke up. As soon as she woke up, Hua Wushuang found that she was not in her happy home, nor was she in the amusement park. The warehouse in front of her was cold, dark, dirty, and smelly. How could she stand living in such an environment? Besides, she was only 4 years old. She didn't know anything yet. She burst into tears. Hua Jinyao and his brother panicked when they saw her crying. Wushuang, don't cry. Wushuang, stop. Don't cry. The gangsters were still eating at the other side of the warehouse. If they heard Hua Wushuang's crying, they would get impatient. As expected, before Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinyao could finish their conversation, Brother De spat out the toothpick in his mouth and walked toward them. Hearing the footsteps, Hua Jinkai panicked. He didn't care that he was tied up. He moved to Hua Wushuang. Wushuang, calm down. Don't cry. Brother, I feel bad. As the little princess of the Hua family, Hua Wushuang had never suffered like this. My feet hurt. My hands hurt too. Why did you tie me up? Was it because I wanted to come to the amusement park? No. Hua Jinkai moved closer to his sister. His face was full of anxiety. Wushuang, my dear Wushuang. Don't cry. You didn't do anything wrong. We are playing a game of soldiers catching robbers. Don't cry. When this game is over, we can go home. Soldiers catching robbers? Little Wushuang blinked. She was young, but she had watched TV. We are playing a game? Yes, Hua Jinyao said. Wushuang, we are playing a game. We are playing a hostage caught by the bad guys. Do you remember the movie I took you to see? Yes. Hua Wushuang stopped crying. The bad guys were caught, and the hostage was rescued. Yes. That's great. That's it. While Hua Jinyao was talking, he saw Da walking toward them. He stood up and blocked Hua Wushuang's body. Wushuang, the bad guys are coming. Don't talk. Don't provoke them, okay? Okay. I know. Hua Wushuang was too young, and she trusted Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai too much. If they said it was a play, then it was a play. If they said it was a game, then it was a game. However, there was one more thing that Hua Wushuang couldn't stand. Brother, my hands and feet hurt so much. Can you loosen the ropes a little? Why do you have to tie them so tightly? Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai couldn't answer Hua Wushuang's question. They didn't have time to answer. Da was already walking toward them. He looked at Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai and sneered. Hey little girl, you're awake? You look so young. As Da spoke, he reached out to touch Hua Wushuang's face. Hua Jinkai was tied up, but when he saw Da's movement, he stood in front of Hua Wushuang. Hua Wushuang was young, but she wasn't stupid. She was young, but she had a feeling that Da wasn't a good person. She curled up and hid behind Hua Jinyao. Little girl, I'm not a bad person. Didn't you hear what your brother said? We're just acting. We're just messing around with you. Hua Wushuang leaned against Hua Jinyao. She didn't want to believe Da's words. Da wasn't angry. He glanced at the faces of the boys and finally fixed his eyes on Hua Wushuang. He clicked his tongue. She's so pretty. She's a real beauty. She's still so young, but she's already so cute. I wonder how beautiful she'll be when she grows up. Da stared at Hua Wushuang, which made Hua Jinkai feel sick. Hua Jinkai and Hua Jinkai blocked Hua Wushuang's body. He was already 14 years old and 1.7 meters tall. Da couldn't see anything now that he was in the way. He spat and glanced at the cold lunchbox on the ground beside him. Suddenly, he kicked it hard. The lunchbox was knocked over, and the food inside spilled out. Da looked at Hua Jinyao and Hua Jinkai. I'm so sorry. I didn't see your feet. You can eat it like this. The food on the top should still be edible. Hua Jinkai and Hua Jinkai clenched their teeth again. However, they both managed to hold back their anger. Da found it boring. He spat and stood up straight, glancing coldly at Hua Jinkai and Hua Jinkai. Kid, don't be rude. Don't be rude here. I gave you food, so eat it. You don't want to eat it? Then you won't have to eat it from tomorrow onwards. As he spoke, he kicked the other lunchbox away. The food was mixed together and covered with the dust of the warehouse. It looked like it would never be edible again. Huo Wushuang pouted and almost cried again. Huo Jinyao turned around and glanced at her. De was happy after his trick. De left. The 3 kidnappers had finished eating as well. The 4 of them gathered together and began to play cards in the dim light. Huo Wushuang had been holding back, but after midnight, she couldn't stand it anymore. Brother, I'm so scared. Brother, they're not playing games with us, are they? Brother, are we going to die? Although she was young, she knew fear. She asked every question in a low voice. No, you won't die. Wushuang, trust me. I won't let you die. Huo Jinkai's heart was broken when he saw his sisters so scared. His hands and feet were tied up again. Otherwise, he would have picked her up and comforted her. Huo Jinyao was thinking the same thing. He looked at the kidnappers. They were playing cards at the climax of the game, so no one was paying attention to them. De seemed to have lost money, and he kept cursing. Huo Jinyao glanced at Huo Jinkai. Huo Jinkai was thinking the same thing. The 2 brothers looked at each other and understood each other. Both Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai were thinking about running away. If the kidnappers didn't give them food or water for 3 days, they would be dead. Even if the ransom came, they would be dead. If they didn't find a way to escape, they would starve to death. But if they ran away, it would be risky. There were 4 kidnappers, all tall and strong adult men. Moreover, they were armed with guns. Against these people, their chances of winning were too small. Then the other kidnappers had been playing cards. Huo Jinyao comforted Huo Wushuang, telling her to rest and not to worry. Don't worry. You can sleep. Maybe you'll be home tomorrow. Huo Wushuang couldn't sleep. She was scared, but she trusted Huo Jinyao. Maybe he was telling the truth. Perhaps after a good night's sleep, she would be able to wake up at home the next day. Huo Jinyao looked at Huo Jinkai when he saw his sister was so cooperative. They were talking in a low voice. They couldn't alert the kidnappers, and they couldn't let them hear them. When Huo Jinyao was in the army with Zhang Yichen, he had learned how to untie the ropes on his hands when he was tied up. Zhang Yichen had taught him how to untie the ropes on his hands. It worked on any rope. But he didn't know that the ropes De had prepared for them were so difficult to untie. Huo Jinyao tried for a long time. His hands hurt, but he still couldn't untie the ropes. He glanced at Huo Jinkai. Huo Jinkai also tried for a long time, but he couldn't untie the ropes either. The 2 brothers were unable to untie each other, so they could only lean back against each other again. They wanted to untie each other's ropes first by moving back to back. Every time they moved, they glanced at Da and the other kidnappers. Then the other kidnappers were so engrossed in the game that none of them paid attention to them. Their hands were behind their backs, and the ropes were tied tightly. Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai tried for a long time, but to no avail. By then, De had been playing cards for almost the whole night. Damn it, I don't believe I can't win. He stared at the table, his eyes shining. His face was filled with determination and anger. If we can't win, we can't win. We'll have money soon anyway. 150 million. Each of us will get 37.5 million. Think about it, when the time comes, your money will be nothing. Liang hadn't won the most money that day, so he dared to say that. De glanced at Huo Jinkai and Huo Jinkai, only to find that they were still sitting there quietly. He turned around, pulled out a card and threw it out. What's this? Let me tell you. Who doesn't want more money? Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai had a hard time untying the ropes. They were waiting for the kidnappers to go to bed. They wanted to hurry up. However, they didn't expect that the kidnappers would stay up all night. They had no intention of stopping to rest. Huo Wushuang was tired from crying. She had already fallen asleep. Huo Jinyao spent a long time untying the ropes on Huo Jinkai's wrists. He didn't dare untie them. He could only wait for them to go to bed. Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai were very sleepy, and the places where they had been kicked by Da were hurting. They stayed alert, waiting for Da and the other kidnappers to go to bed. Chapter 575. Neither Huo Jinyao nor Huo Jinkai had ever experienced anything like this. Neither of them had ever suffered such torment. However, They could not afford to panic, nor could they afford to be disorderly. He could only wait for Da and the other kidnappers to go to sleep. Da did go to bed. Before going to bed, he walked over to Hu Jinkai's side and pointed the gun at Hu Jinkai and Su Qingsang. Stinking brat. I'm telling you, you'd better stay put. This way, when Grandpa wakes up tomorrow, he might be in a good mood and untie the rope for you to eat. After saying that, Da went to sleep at the other end of the warehouse. There were a few old sofas there, barely enough to sleep on for one night. As for Liang and the others, they had arranged their own tasks. Chen Si kept watch for the first half of the night and Wang Ming for the second half. As for Liang, he was responsible for getting up from time to time to patrol outside. After the work was done, Wang Ming and Liang went to rest. Chen Si was left behind to watch them. Hu Jinyao breathed a sigh of relief. As long as the other party went to rest, his chance had come. That was what he really thought. He waited for the criminals to fall asleep. He turned to look at Hu Jinkai. She signaled with her eyes that they could begin now. Hu Jinkai nodded. Using his body as a shield, he untied all the ropes around his hands. So did Hu Jinyao. The two of them didn't dare to untie the ones on their feet in one breath. He was afraid that the noise would be too loud and alert the criminals. After he untied his own hands, he started to untie Huo Wushuang's body. Huo Wushuang had hit her head and was knocked unconscious by the criminal. After she woke up, she cried for a long time. She was so tired that she didn't wake up even after the rope was untied. Hu Jinyao glanced at Dada's eyes were closed, and he seemed to be sleeping soundly. Meanwhile, Chen Si sat by the mahjong table and smoked. He puffed out a cloud of smoke and did not look over. Wang Ming, who had been keeping watch for the second half of the night, had already gone to bed. Only Liang was left patrolling outside. Hu Jinyao and Hu Jinkai communicated with each other through their eyes. In fact, what they were going to do next was quite risky. But in order to escape, they couldn't care less. The two brothers' plan was very simple. They would escape when they were asleep and their guard was at its weakest. The other side only had 4 people, while they had 2. Hu Jinkai worked out regularly, so he was in good shape. Although Hu Jinyao was 2 years younger, he had already been in the army. Neither of them looked short, so there was still hope if they worked hard. The two of them wanted to deal with Chen Si first. It would be best if he could land a hit and knock Chen Si unconscious. Wang Ming and Brother Da were asleep, so he didn't want to disturb them. The warehouse was huge. As long as they escaped from this warehouse, they should be safe when they ran outside. Hu Jinkai loosened the ropes that bound the 3 men's legs. He looked at Hu Jinyao. She whispered in his ear, "I don't think so. The opponent had a gun. If we can't escape, we'll be in danger. But if we don't escape, we'll still be in danger." Hu Jinyao pursed his lips and glanced at Da. That person had a gun, but he wasn't wearing a mask. How do you know that he will really follow the agreement and let you go after getting the money? The other party didn't even cover his face. It was obvious that he wasn't afraid of them testifying against him. It was very likely that the enemy had no intention of letting them return home safely. They wanted to kill the hostages after getting the money. Hu Jinyao's analysis made sense. However, Hu Jinkai had a different idea. He masked his face, but the others haven't. Maybe we still have a chance. Hu Jinyao never liked to pin his hopes on others. If he had a chance to escape, why wouldn't he? Hu Jinkai was mature and steady. He didn't think this was a good plan. "Jinyao, there are too many of them. They're not just one person. How about we wait a little longer?" He trusted the police and his family to get them out. It wasn't that Hu Jinyao didn't trust them, but that would be too long. He glanced at Huo Wushuang. "We can wait here. What about Wushuang?" They were not young anymore and they were boys. They didn't care if it was cold or hungry for a few days. But Wushuang was only 4.5 years old. How could they let Huo Wushuang suffer here for 3 days? When Hu Jinyao mentioned Huo Wushuang, Hu Jinkai hesitated. Yes, they could stay here for 3 days. They could wait for their parents to pay the ransom and get them out. But Huo Wushuang was so young. What would happen if she stayed here for 3 days? Hu Jinkai didn't hesitate anymore. He nodded at Hu Jinyao. The two of them decided to escape together. Hu Jinkai was older, so he carried Huo Wushuang. Huo Jinyao knocked Chen Si out. Then, they could leave the warehouse without alerting Da and Wang Ming. The door of the warehouse was closed. If they wanted to go out, they would definitely make some noise. Liang, who was guarding the warehouse, would be alerted. So, the best solution was for the two of them to take down 3 of the hostages at the same time. That wasn't realistic. Although Huo Jinyao had trained in the army for a few days, he wasn't so arrogant as to think that the two of them could take down 2 of the hostages at the same time. So, the last solution was to knock Chen Si out and then run away. Huo Jinyao asked Huo Jinkai to carry Huo Wushuang. He sat there and pretended to stretch his limbs. Chen Si was smoking and puffing out smoke. His vision wasn't very clear. Besides, he wasn't looking at them. Huo Jinyao knew that he had to hit Chen Si. He quickly got up and quietly walked behind Chen Si. When he was unprepared, he hit the back of Chen Si's head hard. Chen Si fell to the ground. Huo Jinyao didn't know if he was dead or alive. Huo Jinyao didn't want to make any noise and wake Da and Wang Ming up. He used all his strength to hold Chen Si steady and then made him lie on the table. The first step was successful. Huo Jinyao felt relieved and turned to look at Huo Jinkai. He had Huo Wushuang on his back. Huo Jinyao glanced in Da's direction. He was glad that there were some big, useless boxes in the warehouse, which blocked his view. He quietly approached the side of the warehouse. He opened the door slightly. The old wooden door of the warehouse let out a low squeak. Huo Jinyao's heart was beating fast. However, he quickly looked outside. He didn't see Liang, which made him panic. If Liang ran away at this moment, they would be discovered. Huo Jinkai was already walking over with Huo Wushuang on his back. Huo Wushuang was lying on his back. Her face was squeezed together, as if she was about to wake up. Huo Jinyao didn't have time to think about it. He turned around and walked out of the warehouse. He wanted to find Liang and get rid of him. However, he went out and looked left and right, but he did not see Liang. Huo Jinyao knew that they were in trouble. But they were already out. The only thing they could do was try to run away. Who knew how far they could run? Liang ran out from an unknown corner. "Kid, you still want to run?" Huo Jinyao heard Liang's shout. He glanced at Huo Jinkai. "Brother, run." He told Huo Jinkai to go first, while he stayed to deal with Liang. Liang shouted into the warehouse. The kid is running away." Huo Jinyao knew that the situation was not good. He signaled Huo Jinkai to run, while he threw a punch at Liang. "Kid, not bad." Liang didn't expect Huo Jinyao's sudden move and was hit. He spat out a mouthful of blood with a grimace on his face. When Huo Jinyao swung his fist at him again, he grabbed his fist and punched him with the back of his hand. Huo Jinyao didn't expect Liang to be so good at martial arts. He was hit as well. Huo Jinyao took the punch. The opponent's punch was fierce and heavy. He couldn't help but let out a low cry. Huo Jinkai didn't expect his brother to be hit. He stopped and looked at Huo Jinyao, wanting to help. The night was too dark. The only source of light was the reflection of the fire in the warehouse. Huo Jinyao saw what Huo Jinkai was doing. He panicked. He didn't even care about the punch on his face. "Brother, run. Don't worry about me. Hurry up and run." Huo Jinkai glanced at him, gritted his teeth, and carried Huo Wushuang on his back. He didn't expect Huo Wushuang to wake up at that moment. It was too cold outside. She heard Huo Jinyao's voice again. She woke up. It was so dark. She was scared. Before she could cry out, she saw out of the corner of her eye that Huo Jinyao was being beaten. She was too young to see it clearly at first. When she saw it clearly, she burst into tears. "Don't hit my brother! Don't hit my brother! Stop! Don't hit my brother! Brother! Brother!" She struggled to get off Huo Jinkai's back. Huo Jinkai was worried about Huo Jinyao. He lost his balance and let Huo Wushuang jump off his back. "Wushuang!" Huo Jinyao and Huo Jinkai both saw Wushuang's movement and shouted. But it was useless. Wushuang was already running toward Huo Jinyao. At the same time, Da and Wang Ming woke up with a start. Even Chen Si was woken up by Da's kick. "Wushuang!" Huo Jinyao was desperate. He saw Huo Wushuang's small body run toward them. Liang punched her in the face several times. "Wushuang, run! Run with big brother. Don't come near me. Wu Shuang. He was punched in the face again. Liang kicked Hu Jinyao. His body flew out, and Hu Wushuang cried even harder. She rushed to Hu Jinyao. Brother! Brother! Wu Shuang, run! Hu Jinyao hated himself. He really hated himself. He hated himself for not being careful. He hated himself for thinking that there were so many things he could do when he was older. He hated himself for suggesting that they should run. He was hit by Da and watched helplessly as Da picked up Wu Shuang's body. Hu Jinkai rushed over and threw a punch at Da, kicked him away and threw Wu Shuang's small body to the ground. Wu Shuang! The two brothers screamed at the same time. In the night sky, Hu Wushuang's cries sounded so mournful and painful. Wu Shuang! The two brothers quickly got up and tried to run to Hu Wushuang. But it was useless. Hu Jinyao had already been restrained by Wang Ming and Chen Si, who had run out. Liang blocked Hu Jinkai's way. He kicked him a few times and punched him. Although he was only 14, he was as tall as an adult. But he was not as tall as Liang. They didn't know that Liang was a boxer until later. How could they win against a boxer like him when they were so young? Hu Jinyao was punched by Chen Si. You little bastard! How dare you hit me? Kid, you must be tired of living. You're good. Come and hit me. Hu Jinyao didn't know how many times he had been hit. But none of the pain was comparable to the pain he felt when Da picked Hu Wushuang up. Let her go! Let her go! Do you hear me? Let her go! His cry was incomparably mournful. But it was useless. Da threw Hu Wushuang's body again. She cried even harder. At this moment, Da didn't forget to give him a kick. He didn't know where he kicked, but Hu Wushuang stopped crying. On the other side, Hu Jinkai had been beaten up for so long that he was on the verge of collapsing. Hu Jinyao had never experienced such despair. He yelled at Da, let them go. Let them go. I'm telling you, it's useless to kidnap them. My mother didn't give birth to them. My mother won't pay a ransom for them. They are illegitimate children of the Hua family. Do you hear me? It's useless to kidnap them. Let them go. You, let them go, he kept repeating those words, shouting himself hoarse. Da was annoyed. He walked over to Hu Jinyao. He kicked Hu Jinyao in the stomach. Kid, trying to be a hero? You think you can do that? Don't run? Why don't you run? Illegitimate children? Illegitimate children? Do you think I'll believe you? Hu Jinyao looked like he was in love with his sister. Who would believe that? I'm telling the truth. He had been punched so many times by Liang that he couldn't take it anymore. Hu Jinkai was being punched even harder than he was. Hu Jinyao endured the pain in his stomach and spoke to Da, you want a hostage? One is enough. Let them go. Do you hear me? Bam. He was hit in the stomach again. He bent over in pain. Da stopped in front of him. Brat, trying to act in front of me, you're still too inexperienced. Let me tell you. You want to pretend to be a hero? You can't pretend to be me. Hu Jinyao's body was in so much pain that he could barely feel anything. But Da's words made him feel more desperate than pain. The next 2 days were like a nightmare for him. No matter how many times he repeated what he had said, no matter how hard he tried to convince Da that Hu Jinkai and Hu Wushuang were illegitimate children and that they should let them go, it didn't work. He watched helplessly as Da tortured Hu Jinkai. They would beat Hu Jinkai when he woke up. Hit him in front of his face. While beating him, he said, Kid, we're doing this for you. If he died, your family's property will belong to you alone. Hu Wushuang was seriously injured. The next day, he fell into a coma with a high fever. Hu Jinyao had begged for mercy. He even knelt down before Da. I beg you, please let go of my sister. She is only 4 years old. She wouldn't remember anything. You can find a hospital and leave her there. I beg you. Kid, what? You want us to go downtown so the police can arrest us? You wish. Da didn't fall for his trick. Hu Jinyao was furious. My mother has wanted to get rid of them for a long time. If you really let them all die, she'll be happy if you let them all die. He was punched again. Da stared at his face and said angrily, Don't worry. Kid, we still have you, don't we? You're still in our hands. Don't worry, kid. You like to pretend to be a hero, so I'll let you be one. You like to be a hero, so I'll let you be one. But don't even think about escaping. You can't get away. 3 days. 3 whole days. Soft and hard, good and bad. Hua Jinyao said everything he wanted to say. But he couldn't soften Da's heart. On the 3rd day, he was even more desperate. He saw that Da was the only one who didn't wear a mask. On the 3rd day, Chen Si and the others didn't wear masks anymore. What did that mean? He knew it better than anyone else. They would kill the hostages. There was no way he could survive that day. The great despair filled him with regret and pain. Why did he have to be brave? Why did he have to run that night? If they had been hostages, if he hadn't encouraged Hua Jinkai to run away, would they have been able to live safely? He didn't know. He didn't have an answer. On the 3rd day, his limbs were tied up and he was beaten badly. He could only watch as Hua Wushuang's breathing became heavier and heavier. No matter how hard he screamed, Wushuang didn't open her eyes. At that moment, he screamed in despair. Wushuang! Wushuang! His little sister. She wasn't even 5 years old. How could she die like this? Hua Jinkai had suffered enough in the past few days. His body was very weak. When he heard Hua Jinkai's scream, he opened his swollen eyes. He saw Wushuang lying on the ground without a sound. Hua Jinkai screamed even more desperately than Hua Jinyao. However, Hua Jinkai hadn't eaten for days and had been beaten all day. His voice was hoarse. He screamed, and when Da and the others came over, he rushed up and knocked Da down without a care. Da was angry. His gun was in his pocket. He fired at Hua Jinkai. Hua Jinkai's body fell to the ground. But this time, Hua Jinyao didn't even know how to scream. He stared at Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang in front of him. He couldn't believe that the big brother he respected the most and the little sister he loved the most were gone just like that. Brother? Wushuang? Stop playing. Get up. It's been 3 days. We can go home now. Get up. He curled up on the ground, groaning in pain. Da didn't have the patience to listen to him and was about to shoot him. Wang Ming stopped him. Don't be impulsive. If all the hostages die, we won't get a single cent. Da still had a shred of reason left in him. He nodded and signaled Chen Si to cover Hua Jinyao's mouth. Still angry, he kicked Hua Jinyao a few more times. Finally, he let Hua Jinyao go. Hua Jinyao couldn't feel the pain anymore. 3 days. 3 whole days. He was tortured both physically and mentally. His willpower had long since been exhausted. He fainted. His last thought before he lost consciousness was that he could finally be reunited with Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang. That was good. The 3 of them could still be brother and sister. What he didn't know was that the case was so big that it had alarmed many people. Although the Hua family was anxious, they thought that the hostages wouldn't kill them for the money. By the time they found the 4 hostages and subdued them, Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang were gone forever. As for Hua Jinyao, he didn't know if it was because he was physically strong or because he had a strong will. He was in a coma for 3 whole days. Finally, he woke up. Many things had happened while he was in a coma. For example, Da and the others had tried to reduce their crimes. They claimed that Hua Jinkai's 2 lives were manslaughter. Of course, that was impossible. Hua Wushuang hadn't been killed by Da. But she was only 4 years old. She had been seriously injured and couldn't have survived. Hua Jinkai had killed her on purpose. It was true that Da had killed Hua Jinkai. But he said that he didn't want to kill Hua Jinkai. Hua Jinyao had asked him to. He also told the police what Hua Jinyao had said when he was pretending to be a hero. Look, comrade police, he was the one who asked us to kill him. Because if his brother and sister died, he would have a share of the family property. In order to reduce his crime, Da lied. Of course, the police didn't believe him. However, the other gangsters all insisted that Hua Jinyao had indeed said that. The transcript was not open to the public. Even the trial was not open. However, Lu Tongjia and the other members of the Hua family could see the transcript. Lu Tongjia had lost 2 children. She was already in a very bad mood. When he thought of what the note said, he was naturally quite angry and furious. When she went to see Hua Jinyao, she heard him talking in his sleep. I'm telling you, it's useless to kidnap them. My mother didn't give birth to them. My mother won't pay a ransom for them. They are all illegitimate children of the Hua family. Do you hear me? It's useless to kidnap them. I am the most beloved child of the Hua family. He repeated it over and over again, which made Lu Tongjia's heart turn cold. She also reminded herself to believe in her children. She believed that Hua Jinyao wasn't that kind of person. But when Hua Jinyao woke up, what did he say? Yes, it's me. It's all me. I'm the one who killed them. No one could understand Hua Jinyao's self-blame and pain. He regretted it countless times. He wished that time could stop on that day, the night they were kidnapped. If that happened, he would be humble, would never stand up for them, and would never try to be a hero. He would definitely do everything he could to ensure that everyone, including his brother and sister, would survive. But there were no ifs in life. What had happened would not give him a chance to regret. He was 12 years old. He was a child. He could use such an excuse to explain his behavior. However, he could not overcome his own conscience and his own feelings. So for so many years, he knew that Lu Tongjia had misunderstood him. He knew that Lu Tongjia deliberately made things difficult for him. But he never explained it. Chapter 576. I'm the one who killed them. After that, there was a strange silence in the room. Su Qingsang looked at Hua Jinyao. She couldn't believe that there was such a person in the world. Because he felt that he had killed his brother and sister, he didn't explain himself even though he knew that his mother had misunderstood him. For so many years, he had endured such misunderstandings alone. What kind of pain was it to endure such torment? Su Qingsang felt a sharp pain in her heart. The pain made her realize that her face was covered with tears. People always hoped for miracles in life, but most of the time, there were no miracles in the world. The deaths of Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang were both regrettable. Something that shouldn't have happened had happened. It was already a tragedy. No matter how much Hua Jinyao regretted it, he couldn't save his brother and sister's lives. He couldn't forgive himself. He couldn't forgive himself for being impulsive when he was 12 years old. So for the past 10 or 20 years, he had been torturing himself in this way. Wasn't this kind of torment another tragedy? For the first time, Hua Jinyao didn't notice Su Qingsang's tears. He was immersed in his memories. In fact, he rarely recalled the past. Very rarely. If possible, he even hoped that he could lose his memory. He wanted to forget the 3 days he had been kidnapped. Those 3 days were the darkest days of his life. The torture and pain he had experienced were nightmares that he would never be able to forget. Su Qingsang's face was covered with tears. In her eyes, Hua Jinyao's figure had become a blurry shadow. She moved her lips and wanted to say something, but her throat seemed to be blocked by cotton. She couldn't say a word. She hugged Hua Jinyao tightly and forcefully. Hua Jinyao stood there without moving. His body was very stiff. He was completely immersed in the emotions brought about by the kidnapping. After so many years, he had no one to talk about his self-blame and guilt. He had no one to talk about the pain of losing his family. Who should he talk to? The Hua family? They were all suffering the same pain as him. Lu Tongjia was the one who suffered the most. She had lost 2 children in one day. One was the eldest son she was proud of. One was the little daughter she had been looking forward to seeing for a long time. Hua Jinyao understood Lu Tongjia's pain. Therefore, when he found out that Lu Tongjia had misunderstood him, he couldn't argue back. Hua Jinkai had tried to stop him, and he had told him about it. But he refused to listen, stubbornly going his own way. In the end, it resulted in such an outcome. He clearly only needed to wait for 3 days. As long as he endured through those 3 days, everything would be fine. But he couldn't wait. His brother and sister didn't survive either. Hua Jinyao didn't cry. Ever since he was 12 years old, he hadn't shed a single tear. For such a long time, he had been bitterly suppressing it, desperately holding on. He had gotten used to Lu Tongjia's cold treatment over the past decade. For a long time, Hua Jinyao even enjoyed being treated like this by Lu Tongjia. Because in that case, he could slightly reduce the self-blame in his heart. He had never thought that one day, Lu Tongjia would go against Su Qingsang because she didn't like him. Su Qingsang's face was already covered with tears. They were indoors and didn't wear many clothes. She hugged him tightly again. Soon, her tears had soaked his clothes. The wetness on his chest made him lower his head. Because of the pain brought by the memories, his eyes were red. He blinked, as if he could see Su Qingsang's face clearly. He reached out his hand, very slowly, and gently stroked her cheek. "Why are you crying?" Su Qingsang couldn't speak. She could only hug him tightly and keep shaking her head. How could there be such a stupid person? "Don't cry. I'm fine." He had already experienced the pain, and he had already been hurt. It was just that those regrets kept tormenting him, and the self-blame kept tormenting him. He had nowhere to vent those emotions, so he occasionally had nightmares in the middle of the night. "I'm really fine now." Su Qingsang wouldn't believe him. If that was really the case, he wouldn't have been plagued by nightmares for so many years. He wouldn't have called her mother when he was sick. He had grown up, but his feelings were still the same as when he was 12 years old. He was still that teenager. A helpless teenager who was kidnapped, hurt, and hurt. He longed for maternal love and the care from his family. In fact, those were what Lu Tongjia and Hua Mingguang owed him more than 10 years ago. How could Lu Tongjia do that? How could she? Hua Jingyao was also a victim. He also needed Lu Tongjia's gentle words and comfort. He also needed her as a mother to bring him out of that pain. But what did Lu Tongjia give him? Suspicion, accusation, and the hatred that had lasted for more than 10 years. Su Qingsang's eyes were blurry from crying. Her heart ached so much that she couldn't breathe. She looked up at Hua Jinyao and kept shaking her head when he said that he was fine. "It's not like that." Her voice was trembling and full of tears. She shook her head and hugged him tightly. "It's not like that. He wouldn't be fine without the past." How could she do that? How could she? Su Qingsang kept repeating these few words to herself. She wanted to say that Lu Tongjia was wrong. She wanted to say that she should make it up to Hua Jinyao. But she couldn't say it. She could only keep sniffling. Finally, she looked up at Hua Jinyao with a pained face. I'll go talk to her." She let go of him, turned around, and rushed to Lu Tongjia's room. "I'll go now." She wanted to make it clear to Lu Tongjia. She had already lost a son and a daughter. Now, did she want to lose another child as well? People's hearts were the easiest to be hurt, and it was difficult to heal after it was hurt. Lu Tongjia was wrong. Since she was wrong, then let her fix this mistake. Hua Jinyao subconsciously grabbed her. When she was about to rush out, he pulled her back into his arms. "Don't go." "Hua Jinyao? You don't need to say it." Hua Jinyao looked at her face, raised his hand, and used his palm to wipe away the tears on her face little by little. He wiped very, very slowly. He looked at her, and his expression had returned to its usual calmness. "There's no need to say it." Hua Jinyao pursed his lips, and his handsome face was indifferent. It's hard for her too. Lu Tongjia's pain was no less than his. It would only be more than his. For so many years, the nightmare had tortured him for as long as it had tortured Lu Tongjia. There had been a time when Lu Tongjia couldn't get out of that nightmare no matter how hard she tried. Every night, she couldn't sleep and woke up with a start. Hua Jinkai and Hua Wushuang were both born after she carried them for 10 months. Especially Hua Wushuang. Her departure was the pain of the entire Hua family. Lu Tongjia's pain was transferred after she misunderstood him. She felt better after she transferred the pain, the anger, and the hatred of loss to him. Hua Jinyao knew that. He knew all that. That was why she didn't want to explain anymore. Let it be. If there had to be someone who had to bear the responsibility for these losses, then let him do it. He owed it to Lu Tongjia. It was all his fault. Su Qingsang's tears were wiped away by Hua Jinyao, but her eyes were still red. She opened her eyes and looked at Hua Jinyao in a daze. "Hua Jinyao? I'm really fine." Hua Jinyao didn't know how many times he had said that today. Even though he knew that Su Qingsang wouldn't believe him, even though he knew that he was just lying to himself, Su Qingsang didn't want to argue anymore. She stood on her tiptoes and kissed his lips gently and slowly. She traced the shape of his lips carefully. His lips were very beautiful and sexy. They weren't thick and were slightly thin. Some people used to say that people with thin lips were also thin. But now, she felt that his lips were just right. They were soft and bright red, just like his heart. She kissed him, and tears fell again. Finally, she couldn't kiss him anymore. Tears rolled down her cheeks. She blinked them away and hugged him tightly. Huo Jinyao hugged her as well. The front of his shirt was wet again with her tears. He tightened the grip on his arm. He lowered his head and kissed her forehead, her eyelids, and kissed away all her tears. Finally, he kissed her lips. She stopped at the first touch and hugged him again. They didn't speak again. They just hugged each other like that. Time seemed to stand still. He needed time, and so did she. She slowly calmed herself down. She stopped crying. Her eyes were still swollen. He lowered his head to look at her and sighed softly. "It's okay. It's okay. Let's go and wash your face. Apply it to your eyes, or you'll feel uncomfortable later." They were going to have dinner together tonight. If she went with her face like that, she would probably attract attention. Su Qingsang sniffled and nodded heavily. Huo Jinyao held her hand and walked towards the bathroom. Neither of them spoke again. Su Qingsang let him bring a towel, fill it with water, wring it, and gently wipe her face. His movements were very gentle, as if he was wiping some treasure. Su Qingsang blinked. After Huo Jinyao withdrew his hand, she spoke very softly. "Huo Jinyao, have you ever thought about leaving the Huo family? Or leaving Tianyu Group?" Huo Jinyao stopped wringing the towel. He glanced at her and nodded. "Then, it's not that I don't want to. I can't." Old Master Huo knew all about his pain and suffering. Old Master Huo was well aware of Lu Tongjia's pain and suffering. Because Old Master Huo knew and understood. So for so many years, he had never said a word about the relationship between mother and son. Old Master Huo had experienced a lot, so his mentality was different. He was able to accept it, and he could bear more. But other people might not be able to. He understood it all. So, although he felt sorry for Huo Jinyao, he would never let him go. Whether it's the Huo family or Tianyu Group, these are all my responsibilities. If Huo Jinkai were still alive, these would be Huo Jinkai's responsibilities. But Huo Jinkai was gone. His death had a lot to do with him. Even though he had repeatedly told himself that their deaths were accidents, it was useless. Unless, one day, there is someone who can really shoulder these responsibilities. Otherwise, I will continue to carry them. Su Qingsang didn't say anything. She understood him and his choice. However, what about Huo Yifan? Him. Huo Jinyao didn't have a bad impression of Huo Yifan. They used to have a good relationship. But he didn't know when Huo Yifan and the others started to have other thoughts. Not only them, but also the Wei family and even the Lu family. The root cause of all this was Lu Tongjia's undisguised attitude. Huo Jinyao knew that, but because of his tolerance for Lu Tongjia, he had no choice but to tolerate these things as well. Don't worry. He won't be able to do anything. Whether it was him or his older brother in the past. They were all heirs who had been carefully trained by Old Master Huo. In this aspect, Old Master Huo didn't insist on the eldest son and grandson to inherit, nor was he biased. It was because he believed that everyone had different responsibilities to bear. The emphasis he placed on nurturing each of his grandchildren was also different. Huo Yifan wasn't bad, but his weakness was that he was too confident and easily arrogant. With this weakness, Tianyu Group couldn't be expanded in his hands. Therefore, Huo Jinyao would never be a match for him. I know you're better than him. Su Qingsang was worried about other things. But he's with Su Peizhen now. I have a feeling that they're not coming with good intentions. Huo Jinyao leaned over and kissed her cheek. Thank you for the compliment, wife. You also said that your husband is better than him. If that's the case, even if Su Peizhen is added, so what? Su Qingsang nodded and laughed at herself for thinking too much. Anyway, I don't know much about your business. I can't help much. I just hope that you can be well. Huo Jinyao reached out and rubbed the top of her head. Let's go. You rest for a while. We should have dinner later. When the two of them were about to go downstairs, Su Qingsang glanced at the room next door. Is Uncle Ichin okay? To avoid arousing suspicion, she left when the doctors were treating Zhang Yichen. She didn't stay. He's fine. But I don't think he can get up for dinner. It was good that he couldn't get up. Until now, Su Qingsang thought that Zhang Yichen had done that to her because he was drugged and drunk. Only he knew very well that it wasn't the case. The drug had only stimulated the deepest feelings in Zhang Yichen's heart. Zhang Yichen really had feelings for Su Qingsang. However, Hua Jinyao wouldn't tell Su Qingsang about it. He thought about how she had cried for him and how she had wanted to rush to Lu Tongjia to explain for him. His Qingsang was so good. It wasn't surprising that a man liked her. However, he still hoped that there would be fewer rivals in love. Su Qingsang nodded. She sympathized with Lu Tongjia, but she couldn't understand her. If Lu Tongjia really succeeded in framing him, wouldn't it be better to let others know that she had a daughter-in-law who cheated on her husband? Or did she really hate Hua Jinyao to such an extent? Not only did she want to take away his power in the company, but she also wanted to ruin his reputation. Su Qingsang sighed in her heart. If Lu Tongjia really wanted to do that, if Hua Jinyao stubbornly refused to explain the misunderstanding between them, who could guess what Lu Tongjia would do in the future? Don't worry. Hua Jinyao seemed to know what she was thinking. He suddenly stopped walking. I've already told my mother. She won't do something like that again. Su Qingsang looked at his expressionless face when he said that. She could almost guess Lu Tongjia's expression when he said that. Your mother, I told her that you're my bottom line. There won't be a next time. Su Qingsang pursed her lips, bit her lip, and nodded heavily. She suddenly realized that she loved Hua Jinyao more and more. Other than love, she also felt sorry for him and admired him. No one's son could have done this. But Hua Jinyao did. He had endured a lot that he shouldn't have. He had also experienced a lot that he shouldn't have. The heavens were really too unfair to him. During dinner, several people at the table didn't look good. Hua Jinyao and Su Qingsang didn't need to be mentioned. Although Su Qingsang had a buffer from the previous emotions, she still didn't understand Lu Tongjia's behavior when she saw her again. Lu Tongjia didn't look good either. Hua Mingguang wasn't in the room in the afternoon. She stayed alone the whole afternoon. Hua Jinyao's words still affected her. She didn't cry, but her eyes were a little red, and her face looked a little haggard. If one looked carefully, they would find that she had put on some powder to hide her emotions at the moment. Hua Jinyao didn't look at Lu Tongjia, so he didn't notice the change in her expression. No matter how much Hua Jinyao could bear it, he didn't want to talk to her now. Su Qingsang didn't notice her expression either. She couldn't forgive Lu Tongjia now. Old Master Hua and Hua Mingguang noticed it. However, there were too many relatives today, so it wasn't convenient for them to ask. Hua Mingguang leaned close to Lu Tongjia's ear and spoke softly. If you're tired, go to bed early at night. Everyone is here for dinner. You'd better cheer up. They had been married for many years, so he could tell that she wasn't in a good mood at the moment. Lu Tongjia glanced at her husband and finally responded with a soft hum. She looked exhausted. Su Peijian and Hua Yifan arrived late. Su Peijian's face was rosy. His face was beaming with happiness. Everyone present only thought that Su Peijian and Hua Yifan had a good relationship. But it was different for Nian Chunya. Seeing her appearance, Nian Chunya frowned slightly. She was going to marry her son in the future. No matter how much old Master Hua liked her, she didn't know how to behave and didn't know how to respect her as a mother. That was enough to make her unhappy. Su Peijian didn't care about Nian Chunya's expression. She openly hooked her arm around Hua Yifan's. When she approached the crowd, she looked around and finally fixed her eyes on Su Qingsang's face. Chapter 577. Dinner was not as lively as lunch. Many of them were drunk and could not get up. Zhang Yichen was the most powerful among them. Not only was he drunk, but he was also drugged. Even if the doctor treated him, he wouldn't be able to wake up in a moment or two. Before Hua Yangxiu went downstairs for dinner, she went to check on Zhang Yichen. Of course, She didn't know what Zhang Yichen had just been through. She only thought that he was too happy today and had a few too many drinks. However, Su Peijian knew very well that Zhang Yichen was not drunk at all. Zhang Yichen was upstairs, and Su Qingsang didn't look well. The combination of these phenomena was enough to make Su Peijian wonder what on earth had just happened. A gloating smile appeared on her face. What did Zhang Yichen do? She was starting to get curious. There were fewer people at dinner, but it was still lively. At the dinner table, people were toasting each other, but under the dinner table, people were having different thoughts. Su Qingsang was in no mood to socialize today. All her attention was on Hu Jinyao and Lu Tongjia. She always felt that things shouldn't be like this, and the relationship between mother and son shouldn't be like this. Although she and Li Qianxue weren't together after they met, Li Qianxue's care and love for her had never diminished. He would video call her every day and send her messages frequently. Her words were filled with concern. She understood Li Qianxue's thoughts. She had missed out on the mother-daughter relationship for so many years, and she wanted to make up for it. What about Lu Tongjia? Hu Jinyao had grown up. If Lu Tongjia really wanted to make it up to him, what could she do? More importantly, Lu Tongjia probably wouldn't even think of asking for compensation. She couldn't help but look at Lu Tongjia. She also seemed to be a little distracted. She looked at Hu Jinyao again. At that moment, Hu Jinyao picked up a piece of fish and put it in her bowl. He gave her a look, and she understood what he meant. If she could, she really wanted to clarify things with Lu Tongjia, but Hu Jinyao wouldn't let her. The meal was delicious, but Su Qingsang felt tasteless. She knew it was a dead knot. But she really wanted to untie this knot. While Su Peijian was talking to Hu Yifan, she happened to see Hu Jinyao putting food into Su Qingsang's bowl. She narrowed her eyes. Could it be that Zhang Yichen didn't do what she expected? How could this be? If Zhang Yichen didn't have any medicine, then what she had done today would have been for nothing. She looked down and bit her lip. There was a hint of a cold smile in her beautiful eyes. Zhang Yichen was in the army and rarely came out. Then what else could she do to get a chance? What if she stayed here tonight? Su Peijian didn't expect that even if she stayed tonight, she wouldn't have a chance. During the Dragon Boat Festival, Li Junxing also went to Rong City. Hu Jinyao went to the party with them. In the past, he would have asked Zhang Yichen to come along. But not today. Yesterday's incident had created a barrier in his heart. He thought that he might not be able to be as honest with Zhang Yichen as he used to be. The only thing that made Hu Jinyao feel a little better was that Su Qingsang didn't know what Zhang Yichen was thinking. Zhang Yichen woke up the day after the Dragon Boat Festival. He was a soldier and had a strong will. If it wasn't for the special situation yesterday, he would never have allowed himself to make a mistake. He would not allow himself to lose control. But he didn't expect that he would still get drunk despite all his precautions. Forget about getting drunk. How could he lose control? Zhang Yichen rubbed his temples. There was a part of his memory that he didn't remember yesterday. But there was a part that was especially clear. He thought that he was hallucinating when he was hugging a woman and hugging Hu Jinyao when he was drunk. At that moment, he could only feel lucky that he didn't lose control in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't know that he had already lost control in front of Su Qingsang. He didn't know that he had already lost control in front of Su Qingsang. Fortunately, Su Qingsang knew that he was drugged and drunk. Zhang Yichen didn't know that he was drugged. He only knew that he was drunk. He could hold his liquor well. In the past, when he was drunk, he only slept. That was why he could drink without worry. But why did he lose control yesterday? Zhang Yichen didn't understand, but he was sure of one thing. Hu Jinyao, he knew. He buried his face in his palms. He wanted to keep it a secret. What should he do now? Su Peijian didn't look very good after leaving the Hua mansion. Su Qingsang didn't stay at the Hua mansion yesterday. She left with Hu Jinyao after dinner. Seeing how Hu Jinyao cared for her when she left, Su Peijian knew that what Zhang Yichen did yesterday didn't affect her at all. That made her very unhappy. Her plan failed. She didn't know when she would get another chance like this. She was very anxious about this, and it was easy to see how she felt. Her expression was so obvious that even Hu Yifan noticed it. What's wrong? Nothing. Su Peijian didn't want to tell Hui Yifan that she had set Zhang Yichen up. She knew very well that if she told Hui Yifan about it, he would probably object because of Hui Yangxiu's relationship with old Master Hua. My intuition tells me that the bad thing you wanted to do just now failed. Isn't that right? Hui Yifan was a smart man. He knew from Su Peijian's expression that her plan must have failed. He curled his lips and smiled wickedly. Don't tell me that you tried to set Su Qingsang up today and failed. Yes, I failed. Su Peijian curled her lips and said coldly, you should be disappointed that I failed. What do you mean by gloating like that? Nothing. Hui Yifan pulled her into his arms and said, you should have told me that you tried to set Su Qingsang up in the Hua mansion. This is the Hua mansion after all. Hu Jinyao is there, so you have no chance. No matter how much Auntie doesn't like Su Qingsang, she won't let you do anything. You know, this is a very embarrassing thing to do. Su Peijian didn't say anything. In fact, she just wanted to embarrass Su Qingsang and let Hu Jinyao know that he had been cheated on. Today's plan was a little rushed. If she was more familiar with the Hua mansion and had more opportunities, she believed that she would succeed. Alright, don't think about it. You know how protective Hu Jinyao is of Su Qingsang. If you want to set her up again, you'd better do it when he's not here. Of course, it would be easier to do it outside the Hua mansion. Su Peijian narrowed her eyes and began to seriously consider the feasibility of this matter. However, there was no hurry. There were more important things to do now. Alright, I will deal with Su Qingsang. You should focus on the company. We can't lose this time. Don't worry. Don't you trust me? Hui Yifan laughed arrogantly. He thought that all his actions were secret and no one would notice. Su Peijian didn't like his smug look. Part of her personality was like Su Qinghui's. She liked to think more about things. She always had a feeling that things wouldn't be as simple as Hui Yifan thought. However, seeing his confident look, Su Peijian didn't want to hurt him. She turned over and fell asleep. When she got up in the morning, she met Lu Tongjia and found that she didn't look good. Su Peijian had wanted to cooperate with her before. However, there was no opportunity to cooperate now. She naturally thought that Lu Tongjia was giving her a hard time. This made Su Peijian's mood even worse. When she got home, Xiang Kaiping was reading the newspaper in the living room. When she saw her come in, she looked up at her with a very complicated expression. I'm home. Su Peijian changed her shoes and sat down on the sofa opposite Xiang Kaiping. There were fruits on the table. They were all washed. She picked up a bunch of grapes and ate too. When she found that Xiang Kaiping was still looking at her, she sat up uncomfortably. What's wrong? Have you had breakfast? I haven't eaten yet. Can you see if there's anything to eat? Ms. Zhao is in the kitchen. You can ask her. Xiang Kaiping glanced at her. She still couldn't ask the question that was on the tip of her tongue. Su Peijian went to the kitchen to find something to eat without noticing. Xiang Kaiping looked at her back with an indecipherable expression. When Su Peijian came out, she found that Xiang Kaiping was no longer in the living room. She was more or less relieved. When she was with Li Qianxue always went along with her. Of course, if she did something wrong, Li Qianxue would also blame her. She would tell her what not to do. However, ever since she met Xiang Kaiping, she was always a little afraid of her. Su Peijian understood that it was because Xiang Kaiping didn't want to lose her daughter, so she always went along with her. She enjoyed this feeling. In her opinion, Xiang Kaiping would never leave her or betray her. After all, they were blood relatives. She believed that Xiang Kaiping would never leave her. It could only be said that Su Peijian was too confident. After returning to her room, Xiang Kaiping locked the door and walked to the table in the room. She opened the lock of the last drawer and took out a photo album. When she was young, she didn't like taking photos very much. Therefore, there weren't many photos. The album was still the ones she had taken when she lived with Su Qingsang. There were also some photos of her and Su Qingsang. There were also photos with Hu Jinyao. At the end of the album, there was a photo she had clipped after she came back. That photo was taken when the child was born. She didn't know what she was thinking, but she asked the nurse to take a photo of the child. She looked at the child back then and thought about Su Peijian now. Xiang Kaiping couldn't tell how she felt. She turned the page and looked at the photo of her and Su Qingsang again. At that time, her smile was real. She was also in a good mood. But now, she couldn't think about it. Xiang Kaiping felt sad when she thought about it. She felt that she really didn't know how to vent the anger in her heart, nor did she know how to relieve her depression. Previously, when she was with Su Qingsang, she even gave up being with Hu Jinyao to accompany her to Japan for New Year's. Later, in order to take care of herself, she didn't go back to Rong City with Hu Jinyao for New Year's. Su Qingsang knew how many rules there were in a big family like the Hua family. But she still did that. Now, Su Peijian had nothing to do, but she ran out early and stayed outside for a day. She didn't even call. She didn't tell her where she went, nor did she tell her what she was busy with that day. Yesterday was the Dragon Boat Festival. Even though this festival wasn't like the Spring Festival or the Mid-Autumn Festival, which focused on family reunion. But at this time, Xiang Kaiping was still disappointed. Su Peijian really didn't care about her mother. She closed the photo album and locked it back in the bottom drawer. There was no longer any joy on her face. What was she going to do with this daughter of hers? Hu Jinyao was listening to Yang Wenchang talk about Hui Yifun's movements these days. From the looks of it, his plan was going well. Because Hui Yifun didn't suspect anything and trusted them. He curled the corners of his mouth, and there was a faint smile in his eyes. This was one of the few things that had put him in a good mood recently. Keep watching him. I believe he'll take the bait soon. Yang Wenchang nodded and was about to leave. The intercom rang. Someone was looking for Hu Jinyao. It had been a few days since Hu Jinyao saw Zhang Yichen again. He wasn't disheveled like he was on the day of the Dragon Boat Festival, nor was he blushing like that night. He stood there as straight as a pine tree. Hu Jinyao narrowed his eyes. He didn't miss the trace of guilt that flashed across Zhang Yichen's eyes. "Uncle, you're here." He didn't rush to get up when he saw Zhang Yichen like before. He pressed the intercom and asked someone to bring tea. After the secretary left, he gestured for Zhang Yichen to sit down. Zhang Yichen didn't sit down. He still stood there. "I thought Uncle had returned to the army. Why haven't you gone back?" "I went back, but I'm back." "What's the matter?" Hu Jinyao was much calmer than before, which was enough to explain the problem. Zhang Yichen knew that Hu Jinyao already knew, but he still couldn't say it. "That day, I'm sorry. I was drunk." Zhang Yichen's voice was soft, but he didn't mean to excuse himself. "That day? Uncle, which day are you talking about?" Hu Jinyao didn't seem to understand. He turned to look at Zhang Yichen with a puzzled expression. Zhang Yichen stood even straighter than before. He slightly clenched his fists by his sides, then quickly loosened them. "That day of the Dragon Boat Festival was wrong. Uncle, you said you were drunk. Since you were drunk, I won't take it seriously." Zhang Yichen looked at him and took a step forward. "I didn't come here today to cover up or anything else. I just want to say that it's just me. Su Qingsang doesn't know, so Uncle." Hu Jinyao abruptly stood up. He walked around his gigantic desk and walked up to Zhang Yichen step by step, then stood still. "What are you trying to say?" "I just want to tell you that Su Qingsang doesn't know. No matter what you heard that day or what you know, it's just me." "Uncle." Once again, Hu Jinyao interrupted him. His expression was cold, and his eyes were even colder. "Are you explaining for Su Qingsang?" "I don't want you to misunderstand. I didn't misunderstand. You, on the other hand, if you continue to explain, I will really misunderstand." Hu Jinyao's eyes were sharp, and his expression was serious. "Uncle, I have always respected you both in the past and now. But this time, I don't think you need to explain." He took a step forward, almost standing next to Zhang Yichen. Their bodies were very close to each other. They were both tall and imposing. Zhang Yichen had the sharpness of a soldier, while Hu Jinyao had the aura of a leader for many years. The two of them looked at each other. For some reason, there was a feeling of sparks flying in the air. Hu Jinyao raised his chin and looked at Zhang Yichen with a very sharp look. "Uncle, you don't need to explain what you're thinking. As for Su Qingsang, you don't need to explain for her. She is my wife. I trust her. I trust her." just as I am willing to respect Uncle's character. I've already forgotten what happened that day. You were just drunk. So, you should forget it too. Zhang Yichen pressed his lips into a straight line and looked at Hu Jinyao. You know how much I can drink. I've never been drunk before. It was an accident. So as you said, I will forget it. For so many years, every step that Zhang Yichen took was within his plan. However, he never thought that he would encounter something that was not part of his plan. That was Su Qingsang's existence. He tried his best to control himself, but he didn't expect that he would break his plan without even knowing it. Not only did he let Hu Jinyao know what he was thinking, but also, Hu Jinyao didn't answer him. He just stared at Zhang Yichen's face for a while, then said in a low voice. Although what happened that day was an accident, I think you shouldn't come to the Hua family again if you don't have anything else to do. Zhang Yichen suddenly raised his head to look at Hu Jinyao. He looked shocked and hurt. Uncle, you think you can drink well, but is your tolerance for drugs as well? What do you mean? Nothing. Hu Jinyao's voice was flat. Uncle, you keep saying that you got drunk by accident. That's why you lost control. But what you don't know is that someone drugged the soup that I gave you that day. It was because of the drug that Uncle lost his composure. Someone drugged me? Zhang Yichen had never thought of that possibility. After all, when he woke up, Hu Jinyao and Su Qingsang had already left. The doctor wasn't there, and Lu Tongjia couldn't have told him about it. No one knew that Zhang Yichen had been drugged, except for Su Qingsang and the others. Uncle, you were drugged, and under the influence of the drug, you lost control. Who? Zhang Yichen didn't look happy. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing in the Hua family. It doesn't matter who drugged you. Hu Jinyao looked at him with a serious expression. What matters is why that person drugged you. Jinyao? Uncle, have you ever thought about it? You think that you're hiding your feelings well. But what if someone saw through it? Not only did that person see through it, but he also took advantage of it. In fact, the person who he wanted to hurt might not be you, but Su Qingsang. Chapter 578. Hu Jinyao's voice was cold. He had never talked to Zhang Yichen like that. In fact, Zhang Yichen was innocent of what had happened that day. He knew it. He couldn't help but wonder how Lu Tongjia knew what Zhang Yichen was thinking. Zhang Yichen must have revealed something to him when he wasn't aware of it. When he wasn't aware of it, where he couldn't see it. Zhang Yichen and Su Qingsang had shared intimate moments, and Lu Tongjia happened to see them doing that. Thinking of that, Hu Jinyao felt very uncomfortable. He wasn't a stingy man, especially since Zhang Yichen wasn't only his uncle. To Hu Jinyao, Zhang Yichen was both a teacher and a friend. Zhang Yichen was very important to him. He had never thought that one day his relationship with Zhang Yichen would become like this. He felt sad and his voice became colder. Uncle, have you ever thought about how much trouble you've caused Su Qingsang? If Su Qingsang hadn't escaped in time yesterday? If the person who drugged you had called a group of people to watch? If you and Su Qingsang had been caught red-handed? Thinking of that, Hu Jinyao felt suffocated. Even if he was willing to trust Su Qingsang, even if he was willing to stand behind her, what would Su Qingsang face in the future? Uncle, you can argue with me, but what about Su Qingsang? Don't forget that she's your niece. Zhang Yichen stood there with his back straight. He didn't move an inch. He couldn't refute Hu Jinyao's accusation. I didn't do anything intimate with her. I just saw her in the back garden twice. Maybe someone saw us. Zhang Yichen looked at Hu Jinyao as he said that. I'm sorry, I'll be more careful in the future. But I don't think the Hua family is as peaceful as you think. He could roughly guess who was targeting Hu Jinyao. He believed that Hu Jinyao knew it himself. That's my business. You don't have to worry about it. Hu Jinyao couldn't tell Zhang Yichen that it was Lu Tongjia who did it. No matter how bad Lu Tongjia was, she was his biological mother. Even if he didn't say anything, Zhang Yichen had his own guesses. But now there was no need to say anything more. He took a step back. I don't have to worry about the rest. Today, he seemed to have come with the purpose of explaining. But now, he felt as if he had made a wasted trip. If there's nothing else, I'll be leaving first. Zhang Yichen looked at him and added, as if he was worried that Zhang Yichen might be worried. When I returned to the army a few days ago, I agreed to carry out a mission. He wouldn't come back to Rong City anytime soon. You can rest assured. Uncle, you're mistaken. I have nothing to worry about. Zhang Yichen looked a little bitter. That was right. Their relationship as husband and wife was very good, so there was really nothing to worry about. He turned around and left. His footsteps were no lighter than when he came. As he reached the door, he paused. Jinyao, sometimes, I really envy you. You're really lucky. Not everyone had the chance to meet a woman as smart and special as Su Qingsang. Thank you. I also think my luck is pretty good. Hu Jinyao admitted it openly. Half a year ago, if he hadn't suddenly appeared in the hospital where Su Qingsang was in, if he hadn't stopped and watched the fun, he believed that he wouldn't have such good luck now. Zhang Yichen left with a bitter look on his face. Not everyone could have good luck. It could be encountered but not sought. Su Qingsang's smiling face appeared in his mind. Zhang Yichen closed his eyes and suppressed that thought deeper into his heart. Su Qingsang looked at Hu Jinyao, who had left her body. He was much more excited today than usual. It felt like when they had just started their relationship. His attitude was even a little urgent. She hadn't seen Hu Jinyao like this in the past few months. Jinyao. She wanted to ask him if something had happened in the company again, or if Lu Tongjia had done something again. However, Hu Jinyao had already turned over again and kissed her lips. He hugged her tightly, brought her into his arms, and did it with her again. Her body moved up and down with him involuntarily. She endured everything he gave her. He was a little forceful. He rubbed her hard into his arms, lowered his head, and kept his lips on her lips and ears. Honey, you are mine. Honey, tell me that you are mine. Honey, do you feel it? I am the one with you now. Before Su Qingsang could give any response, he kissed her lips and whispered in her ear. Honey, tell me, who am I? Hu Jinyao. Su Qingsang had to clench her teeth to say those 3 words. She was losing consciousness. The hair on her forehead was already wet with sweat. She felt a little overwhelmed by Hu Jinyao like this. Honey, who is Hu Jinyao? Su Qingsang felt as if her sanity had flown beyond the highest heavens. The feeling he gave her was too strong. She had always needed time to get used to it. She didn't expect Hu Jinyao to ask such a question at this time. Hu Jinyao, it's you. Yes, my husband. Hu Jinyao was satisfied. Over and over again he made Su Qingsang say what he wanted to hear. Until she couldn't take it anymore. Exhausted, she fainted in the pleasure he brought her. Hu Jinyao carried her to clean up and change the bedsheets while she was in the shower. Finally, he cleaned Su Qingsang and carried her back to the room. Su Qingsang recovered a little. She wanted to say something, but Hu Jinyao hugged her tightly. Sorry, I lost control today. He shouldn't have lost control like that. At least, since he trusted Su Qingsang, he shouldn't be so worried. However, Zhang Yichen's words and Lu Tongjia knew about her ambiguous relationship with Zhang Yichen. He couldn't help but want some reassurance from Su Qingsang. Even if such a reassurance was only his one-sided thought. Su Qingsang's hands and feet were weak. She looked at Hu Jinyao and shook her head gently. I'm fine. What's wrong with you? Hu Jinyao carefully held her body in his arms and didn't say anything. Zhang Yichen returned to the army today. In fact, after the 2 of them had finished their conversation in the office, he had left. He knew that Zhang Yichen was a man of his word. Since he said that he wouldn't return to Rong City in the near future, it meant that he wouldn't show up for a long time. However, his absence didn't mean that Zhang Yichen didn't have feelings for Su Qingsang. It was just that he might suppress his feelings deeper and harsher. From his original point of view, he couldn't blame Zhang Yichen. There was nothing wrong with liking someone. Zhang Yichen only liked one person. However, from the perspective of Su Qingsang's husband, Hu Jinyao couldn't ignore it. Someone coveted your wife. That didn't feel good. Now, someone knew about it and it was Lu Tongjia. Lu Tongjia had been quite quiet these days. Hu Jingyao didn't know if his words worked, or if Lu Tongjia had been seen through and hadn't thought of a new way to deal with Su Qingseng. Either way, he believed that it was only temporary. Given Lu Tongjia's resentment, it was very likely that she would come back in a few days when she was in a bad mood. If Zhang Yichen hadn't given up by then and didn't restrain himself. They were relatives after all. If that happened, Lu Tongjia would probably do something. After all, she didn't like him in the first place. Now that Su Qingseng was involved, she hated him even more. If she really ignored his warning and insisted on telling the truth about Su Qingseng and Zhang Yichen, what would he do? After all, Lu Tongjia was his mother. Hu Jinyao calmed his frown and hugged Su Qingseng's waist tightly. Go to sleep. Jinyao? Don't worry. It's not a big deal. I'll take care of it. He thought that he might need to talk to Lu Tongjia again. Or, did he need to do more to ensure that Su Qingseng wouldn't be hurt by Lu Tongjia? Su Qingseng raised her head to look at him. She didn't miss the complicated emotions that flashed through his eyes. She couldn't help but think of Lu Tongjia. Maybe she could do something. Su Qingseng hung up the phone. After making sure that Su Peijian wasn't at home, she knocked on the door. She did this every time she came to see Xiang Kaiping. In fact, she wasn't afraid that Su Peijian would find out or see her. It was just that it was better to have less trouble than more trouble. Ms. Zhao. It was Ms. Zhao who opened the door. Su Qingseng had come a few times, so she knew her. Hello, Ms. Su. Ms. Zhao was all smiles when she saw Su Qingseng. She liked Su Qingseng. She was very polite and knowledgeable. Most of all, she was willing to spend time with them, the older people. This was something that was hard to come by. Ms. Zhao. Xiang Kaiping stood up from the sofa after entering the room. Ms. Zhao, this is the physical therapy device you asked for last time. I brought it here for you. Su Qingseng put a big box on the coffee table. She turned to look at Ms. Zhao. She had wanted to visit Xiang Kaiping during the Dragon Boat Festival, but she went to the Hua family and that incident happened. Although Hu Jinyao hadn't mentioned it in the past few days, she believed that what Lu Tongjia had done must have affected him. Thank you, Miss Su. You're so considerate. Ms. Zhao stepped forward and kept thanking her. How much is it? I'll give you the money. No need. Su Qingseng waved her hand. It's not that much. I'll give it to you. How can I accept it? I'm embarrassed to see you like this. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. Su Qingseng glanced at Xiang Kaiping as she spoke. I've been busy with work recently, so I may not have time to visit you often. Please take good care of her. Of course, of course. I'm paid. Ms. Zhao looked at the physical therapy device and felt very embarrassed. Thank you. You're welcome. We have internal discounts. It's not too expensive. Ms. Zhao scratched her head. I'll accept it then. Thank you, Miss Su. You're welcome. Miss Su, why don't you stay for dinner today? I bought some groceries. You can leave after dinner. Okay. Su Qingseng agreed and glanced at Xiang Kaiping again. If she stayed for dinner, then Su Peijian, she's busy today. She won't be back. Xiang Kaiping knew what she was thinking. She watched Su Qingseng and Ms. Zhao talk without interrupting. Qingseng, I asked Ms. Zhao to buy some bamboo leaves. Although the Dragon Boat Festival is over, if you have nothing to do, let's make some rice dumplings. Okay. Su Qingseng nodded. I haven't made rice dumplings yet. Auntie, you can teach me. Okay. Xiang Kaiping smiled. In fact, she had bought the bamboo leaves before. She had thought that if Su Peijian was at home that day, she would make rice dumplings for her. Who knew that Su Peijian would stay out for the whole day? Even at home, she didn't have much patience to keep her company. A few days ago, she had wanted to ask her to spend more time with her. Recently, she didn't want to mention it anymore. Because Su Peijian seemed to be busier than before. She sighed in her heart. Xiang Kaiping forced herself to shift her attention away from Su Peijian. In fact, the bamboo leaves were already prepared, and so were the ingredients for the glutinous rice. She knew that Su Qingseng would come today, so she wanted to make rice dumplings with her. Even though the festival was over, she believed that Su Qingseng wouldn't refuse. Su Qingseng didn't refuse. Compared to her, Su Peijian seemed. Xiang Kaiping shook her head. She really envied Li Qianxue. She had such a good daughter. Su Qingsang was halfway through making the rice dumplings when she thought about Lu Tongjia. She believed that before the incident with the Hua family, Lu Tongjia must have had some warmth for Hua Jinyao. But that warmth disappeared in the end. If she could restore the warmth between Lu Tongjia and Hua Jinyao, would Lu Tongjia forgive Hua Jinyao's impulsive mistake when he was 12 years old? Moreover, it wasn't a mistake, but a misunderstanding. If the misunderstanding could be resolved, Qingsang, do you have something else to do? No. Su Qingsang stopped thinking, smiled at Xiang Kaiping, and continued to make rice dumplings. If you have something to do, go do your own thing. You don't have to come to see me. Xiang Kaiping was serious. As an outsider, Su Qingsang had done a lot. Auntie, I'm fine. She was just thinking about Lu Tongjia. Xiang Kaiping didn't really believe her, but since she said she was fine, she couldn't continue to ask. After all, they were no longer mother and daughter. She couldn't control her too much. Xiang Kaiping didn't stop wrapping the rice dumplings. She thought about it and said, You have Hua Jinyao to take care of you. I have nothing to say. But if you have something on your mind, if you want to, I can't help you. But I can still be a listener. Su Qingsang was touched by Xiang Caiping's words. Su Qingsang suddenly had an idea because of Xiang Caiping's words. She also knew what she could do. People get along with each other, but people's hearts changed. Now Lu Tongjia misunderstood Hua Jinyao. Hua Jinyao didn't want to explain. If she explained, she would be exonerating Hua Jinyao. It was better to find another way. Think of other ways to move Lu Tongjia. If Lu Tongjia was soft-hearted, she would naturally believe what she said. She needed to think about how to soften Lu Tongjia's attitude. When Hua Jinyao returned home and was about to eat, he saw the rice dumplings on the dining table. He couldn't help but look at Su Qingsang. The Dragon Boat Festival is over. Where did the rice dumplings come from? Although rice dumplings were usually sold, this one didn't look like it was sold on the street. Because it wasn't a square rice dumpling, but a triangular one. Few people in the north made rice dumplings like this, but many people in the south liked to make small triangular rice dumplings like this. Su Qingsang was still unfamiliar with it at first, but after trying a few times, she got the hang of it. Now that she saw Hua Jinyao, she couldn't help but want to take credit. Don't tell me you made this? Half-half. You and Auntie Yu? As far as he knew, Auntie Yu was from the north, so she probably didn't know how to make triangular rice dumplings like this. Su Qingsang smiled, took his hand, and led him to sit down at the dining table. Come, let me tell you first. The red string is a sweet rice dumpling. The white string is a salty rice dumpling. The sweet one is wrapped with dates and peanuts. The salty one is egg yolk and meat dumpling. So many. Su Qingsang nodded and sat down next to Hua Jinyao. I'm off today, so I went to see Auntie. Hua Jinyao paused in his action of taking the rice dumplings. Did you make them with Auntie Xiang? Then, didn't you just stay at Auntie's for a day? Su Qingsang looked at Hua Jinyao and knew that he was worried about her. Don't worry. I didn't meet Su Peijian. Auntie Xiang said that she looked very busy recently. She's always not at home. Of course she was busy. He had set a trap for Hua Yifan, and Hua Yifan had already fallen into it. Su Peijian was worried and wanted to keep an eye on many things herself. Hua Yifan couldn't let others know that he still worked in Tianyu every day. In this way, his energy would definitely be divided. That was why Su Peijian represented Hua Yifan in many things. She was becoming more and more like that. Many people who had interacted with Hua Yifan in private admired Su Peijian. Many people were also asking about Su Peijian's background. Hua Jinyao couldn't help but glance at Su Qingsang. If Su Qingsang hadn't been the wrong child, if Li Qianxue and Su Qinghui had carefully cultivated her, would she have shown such talent in business like Su Peijian? Su Qingsang didn't know what Hua Jinyao was thinking. She thought that he was worried about her. She picked up a salty rice dumpling and put it in his hand. I call Auntie every time I go. I only go when I'm sure that Su Peijian is not there. So I won't meet her. Besides, even if I meet her, so what? She also knows that I lived with Auntie before. I'm not afraid of her knowing that she saw me. If she really doesn't like me visiting Auntie, she should be nicer to Auntie. I heard from Auntie Zhao that she often doesn't go home to eat or even stay at home. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.